Okay, we're going to get started. If y'all can find a seat. Everybody take a seat, please. We're going to open up with prayer. Recognize Kyle Jones to open us up with prayer. Our very own Kyle Jones.
Please bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather today for this educational summit, we humbly ask for your guidance and wisdom to illuminate our discussions and to grant us a clarity of purpose and open hearts to learn and to grow, that we may serve the people of Mississippi all the better. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. You'll stand and join us in the pledge. Attention, salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody out. Thanks for joining us. We've got a great summit ahead of us, a lot of good presenters, and look forward to another educational event. I know we started these last year and they've been well received. I know that I personally have benefited greatly from them, so I'm looking forward to today's agenda as well. Commissioners, any opening remarks?
I just want to say thank you for the leadership, Mr. Chairman, and I look forward to learning as well.
Thank you for all the people that came out today and providing their wisdom and knowledge to us here at the Commission and to the consumers and to our citizens of our state. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. With that, we'll jump right in. We're going to recognize Ricky Cotton with the Mississippi Public Service Commission Pipeline Safety Division. He's our director. So, Mr. Cotton, you're on the hot seat. Not literally, but thanks for joining us.
As he comes up, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to thank Ms. Rachel Ring and Nala McClure for putting together this PSC Natural Gas Summit brochure. Good job.
And they make us look good, don't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, I echo that. Thank y'all so much for all three of there on the front row working on this. So appreciate y'all. Mr. Cotton, you're recognized. Thanks.
Good morning. I also want to thank Rachel too. She worked very diligently and made this very easy for me as far as getting all the content together as well. And
she's so shy. I don't know how you get her to talk.
And thank you all for having the wisdom to have such a event as well. I'm Ricky Cotton. I'm the program manager or director of pipeline safety for the Public Service Commission, and I'm going to just pretty much give an update of what we do, how we do it, why we do it, and those things. And we'll look at some statistics to kind of show where we are in Mississippi pipeline safety-wise. Okay, so what we had, I like to move a little bit. Let me get this on the mic. Well,
that one comes off. You can detach that one maybe.
Okay. So PHMSA stands for Pipeline Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, and as you see, the Mississippi Public Service Commission. So PHMSA and the Mississippi Public Service Commission has an agreement. PHMSA is a federal agency that has an agreement with the Public Service Commission. 60105 agreement and a 60106 agreement. These are agreements that was in place in 2024. So what does these agreements allow? It allows the state of Mississippi to do inspections on natural gas operators, as well as enforce whatever regulations there are, and also apply for grants. And it also allows states to have its own regulations. If the state want to come up with some more stringent regulations, then that's allowed. And also, if the state have heartburn with some regulations, there's a process called a waiver. You can always ask for a waiver. Most of the time, it's not granted, but you can ask for it. What does PHMSA provide? Reimbursement up to 80% of the funds to operate pipeline safety. But usually it's going to be around 60%, maybe 65%. And they also provide program evaluation annually. So we are audited by the federal government every year about our safety program. And we'll look at some statistics about that. Where do we stand when we are audited? They also provide a lot of guidance. If we have questions, if we need guidance on any regulation, even the enforcement piece of it, there's guidance. They're like big brothers, you know, as they say, we're the government, we're here to help you, but they actually do help. They provide guidance. Okay, our program overview. As you can see these cities here, this is where our inspectors are. We have 9 employees that make up our department, 7 current inspectors, all the way from Tupelo down to Ocean Springs. And the map over to the right is showing the PSC districts and where our people are stationed throughout the state. And at this time, I also want to just recognize my employees that's here. Stand up real quick for me. Okay. That's my staff, part of my staff.
Introduce everybody.
Okay,
let's
all right. I'll let you introduce yourselves. Say, you know, your name and where you're from, what area you work, and your title or something. And Joyce is out of Jackson. And we have 2 other ones that's not here. Jacqueline Prophet out of Panola County has some family health issues going on. So life happens. And Marvin Lewis down in the Lawrence County area in the Southern District, we had to redirect him, Commissioner Carr. We had to redirect him down Fort Natchez, dealing with a situation down there that we're familiar with. And so life happens on one of them, and then work happens on the other. So that's our staff, and they are well qualified. And this is our statistics. What you're looking at is a chart that PHMSA evaluate. They told me to stay here close to the thing. I like to move a little bit, but they said the camera is like right here. So just excuse me if I start wandering off a little bit. But anyway, the pipeline inspector qualification. So as you can see, about 75, 76% of our inspectors as of 2023 have all of their core training. Our inspectors are required to go to training in Oklahoma City to a federal installation, and they have to, it's a pass-fail courses that they have to take. So it's not just attending a seminar or a conference. It's a test-taking event that you have to have at least 70% of the knowledge that they provide. And if you don't pass those tests in over a 3-year period, then you do not work for the PSC. As you can see, the gray area, which is additional training, as of 2020, you see we started doing additional training. Before that, there was none. Additional training meaning that you have taken your core courses, and there's another whole body of work out there that pipeline safety inspectors has to do, and that's where that additional training come in. So we are qualified, we are doing additional training, and as you can see, 5-year retention being a dark line, we're retaining employees pretty good. Number of systems by type. So what is it? Type system that we regulate, pipeline safety regulate. Pipeline safety regulate distribution companies. As you can see, the top 3 is distribution companies, but it's several different types of distribution companies. Municipalities, you have private distribution, which is the big three, and you have distribution other, which is gas district. And that makes up the bulk of the number of customers and the bulk of the operators, as well as the bulk of the unit. So what's the difference between operators and units? So if you have one company in the state that has operations on the coast, have one in Jackson, and have one in Tupelo, that's considered 3 different units. And that's the way we inspect them as units. So the number of operators and the number of units won't always match. Master meter systems, there's 39 of them that we regulate. So what's a master meter system? Master meter system are your smaller system where a distribution system sells gas to a college, a housing authority, or something like that. Those are master meter systems. And we have 39 of those that we regulate in 50 units. Transmission companies, that's going to be your bigger pipeline that goes, throughout the state that may not sell gas to a house or a business, but they sell it to a distribution company that takes it onto the house. So we have 16 of those, 20 units. Gathering line and underground storage. Now, underground storage, there's one in the state, 2 units. And what that is just where they store gas under the ground in a salt cavern or abandoned wells and that kind of thing. So all total, we have 112 operators that we regulate and 149 units that we inspect. Yes.
What's gathering?
Okay, let's go back to that. Gathering line is the lines that come from a well. From a well to a transmission line. So the transmission line transported up and down the state or whatever, but it has to get to the transmission line, and the gathering line comes from a well. And if you have any questions, just don't wait to the end. Just go ahead and ask, because it'd be hard to go back to that slide probably. Okay, so what type of inspections do the PSC do? We have a number of inspections that we do. And most of these operators can tell you that they probably get tired of seeing us. And so somewhere down in the few slides, we'll tell you how we decide where we're going to go, how often we're going to go there. So the type of inspections that we do, standard, which is a comprehensive inspection, probably is the most thorough inspection that the PSC does do. All right, so that inspection is probably about nearly 100 pages long. May take several days to do that inspection, but you're looking at everything. You're looking at everything. Then you have a field inspection where you're just only looking at field work. And the field work is the stuff that you can see with the eye. We all know most pipelines are buried underground, but in the field, you may have a regulator station, signage, rectifiers, different things that you can do in the field. Construction. We're going to talk more about construction inspections in a little bit, but we do a lot of construction inspections. Integrity management. All natural gas operators are required to have a IMP plan or integrity management plan. What that plan is the operator find things over the years, they fix it. Okay, it's fixed. But next year you have some more problems and it's fixed. Problem may be in the same part or town or area, so you should be seeing the trend of this area having problems over and over, even though you're fixing it. So that's what an integrity management plan helps you to find those trends. Public awareness, the operator is required to have a public awareness program to make the public aware, like this meeting here. What you do when you smell natural gas, who you call, what it smells like. Make the public aware. You got to have a program to do that. Drug and alcohol testing. You'll hear a little bit more about that today and with another one of the presenters. But we do inspections on operators' drug and alcohol testing program. They're required to test for 5 drugs, and that's random testing, pre-employment testing, return to duty testing, and a few more. Operator qualification. Operators are required to have operators to be qualified to do the work they do. So we do inspections on the operator's records to make sure that the people doing the work are qualified to do the work that they're doing. We provide training whenever, and most of this training is, and I shouldn't say training, we provide guidance to small operators like master meters, small municipalities that may not have the resources. So what we'll do is when they have a new operator come in, we just come to them and tell them, this is what you need to do to comply. You need to have these records, maintain them for this amount of time, and, you know, code book, show them what it is they need to be doing. Failure investigation. So failure investigation is there's an incident, explosion, or, you know, a fire involving natural gas. We have to investigate that. Failure investigation inspection we conduct, and we hope that we don't have many of those to do, but unfortunately, we have a few. Damage prevention. That's all these different color lines and paint and flags that you see out there on the ground. That's in order to prevent damage to pipeline or damage to any underground utility, really. But in particularly, we concentrate on pipeline. Construction inspection. I told you we'd talk a little bit more about construction inspection. So the federal government mandates at a minimum of 20% of our inspection, all states really, 20% of our inspections be construction inspections. So we normally run around 22, 23% of our inspections being construction inspections. So what we look at is the actual construction and testing. Okay, when I say construction and testing, I mean we have to have boots on the ground. We have to have somebody there doing the pipe being put in the ground or being pressure testing. That's what we call construction inspection. Now, some states review construction plans from an office and call that a construction inspection. So we don't. So we want to be a part of and see it and document it on inspection form. Make sure that line is going in the ground the right way. So we do about 22, 23% of our inspections as construction. Process for the operator reporting. How do we know where to go? How do we know construction is going on? Well, there's a state law that requires operator, if they're going to do more than $8,000 worth of construction, they have to notify us within 5 days before they start the work. And we can direct our resources on the bigger jobs in particular. We can't get to all of them, but the larger jobs we get to and may spend several days on those jobs. Prioritizing inspection schedule. So how do we decide where we're going to go? There's a lot of operators out there. There's a lot of work out there. We have limited resources. So we look at the data. We try to let it be data driven. Like, for instance, the time since the last inspection. Okay? We want to at least go do certain kind of inspection once a year. Certain kind of inspection is every other year. But if there's a compliance issue, then we go more. We go more. Okay? So if there's some non-compliances on the system, we're going to follow up. Follow up may wind up 2 or 3 times following up, trying to get that particular operator to comply. And then it depends on what activity is going on the system. If there's a lot of fiber going in and they keep damaging the line, cutting the line, that's activity. If they're replacing a lot of natural gas pipes, that's a lot of activity. We go there more to do a construction inspection, try to prevent damages and all that kind of stuff. So we also look at the size of the system. Some of the larger systems, we wind up going to more often than not. So if it's a little small system, we may go 1 time a year if they look okay. We may not go back that year. So it just depends on the size. So our operator training attendance. As you can see up there in that top right corner, 2836 hours. Well, natural gas operators in the state of Mississippi, and this is not nationwide, and I get a lot of applause when I'm at different national conferences about this right here. We require our natural gas operators in the state of Mississippi, it's a state law, they'll have 28 master meter systems that have 28 hours minimum. And it's a continuing education. So 28 hours over 38, over 3-year period. So that makes them have to continue to train, to go to training. And then municipal and larger operators, 36 hours minimum over the same 3-year period. And that just keeps starting over. Except now that bigger companies with more than 50,000 customers are exempt because they have their own internal training facility. They don't have their own facility. They have their own trainer. So as you can see here, trade show, Commissioner Brown, I think we got you on next month, in 2 weeks, I think, to do the welcome at that trade show in Tupelo. And that's just the attendance numbers, normally normal attendance level of these conferences. And Commissioner Stamps, this TSC seminar with the 150, that's normally done in Jackson. Got you down for the welcome there. And
I've done the welcome at church several times, so I think I can figure it out.
I know it's no problem. And Dairy Prevention Summit, where the 350 is, Commissioner Carr, we got you down in November. That's in Biloxi. Okay. And then there's a couple other conferences too. But as you can see, they're well attended by the operators, and they're required to get these number of hours, 28 and 36 hours, continuing education hours. All right. So here we are with some numbers, direct numbers that in our department we're responsible for. Well, we're responsible for all the things I'm saying, but this particular one just shows some of the things that we found. 274 violations in the year of 2024. Enforcement statistics, right? And in that same amount of time, 164 of those are corrected. So you're always going to have some carryover because the ones you write toward the end of the year are going to carry over and they have time to fix them. But I do want to say 25 more when this slide was done. Since this slide was done, 25 of those carryovers have been already corrected. And so we add that 25 to the corrected column and take 25 off of the carryover. But that's where we are as of December 31. But this month, 25 more has been corrected.
Can you give us an example of what a violation?
So what
A violation.
Okay. There's a lot of violations. Some of them may be cathodic protection, for instance. If you got low readings on your pipe, and that could indicate that there's corrosion going on, so that could be a violation. And those 274, they're going to be all across the board. It may be line markers on the exposed pipe that don't have a line mark on it, and that can be a violation. There could be leak surveys that didn't happen in the time that they should have happened. Those are violations. So it's just a number of them. It's probably out of that 274. If I had to say, you probably got about 30 different ones. Program evaluation. This is a chart. In the next several charts you're going to see. When we're evaluated by the federal government every year, these numbers go onto their website. This chart go onto their website for the world to see, right? And you see 2022 being the last one, but they always update at least a year behind. So 23 numbers should be coming up probably before March of this year. All right, so gas pipeline safety enforcement program evaluation. As you can see the years, and we're scoring right at the top of that in the evaluation. And we'll look at some of the things they're evaluating, what they're looking at. But you see 2020, let me go ahead and explain that. Most of you already know, probably, COVID happened in 2020, and stuff started shutting down. And therefore, we couldn't do inspection. We couldn't do inspection. Now, we had already, years before that, gone paperless. And so we can do inspections remotely, but all the municipalities and some of the smaller operators were not set up to do that. So therefore, some inspections didn't happen, and therefore we didn't score as high in 2020. But as you can see, we rebounded in 21 and figured out how we can get that done, and we did. Okay, inspection days per 1,000. That's how inspection days is measured. Everything pretty much in pipeline industry is measured per 1,000. So per 1,000 miles there. As you can see, we are at the height of 2019, we had more employees, and then we had some retirements, 2 retirements, and you see that number start going down a little bit. And then we had one other person that just took another job. So those numbers kind of going down is through attrition. And then we are fully staffed now, so it should start going back up. Okay, excavation damages per 1,000 tickets. Let's go all the way back to the highest one you see, 2015. 2015. And I'm going to do a little bragging on myself now. Somebody told me if you don't brag on yourself, nobody else will. All right. So my first full year at the PLC was 2015. And that's the numbers. They was high. That high number is not a good number. They was high. And then you started going down. We had high damages in 2015. And every year almost since then, we've been going down. So 2023 is the last numbers that we have. At 3.7 per 1,000. We've been trending in the right direction. We're not having as many damages. And these are damages to pipeline, not other utilities. This is just pipeline. They're 3.7 in 2023. And so let's look at the green, because those new numbers for the 2024 for the previous year always come out on March 15th. And so we have this conference before March 15th, so we don't have final numbers for 2024. But I did poll the top 3 or the big 3 companies to see where we are. So I put them in green. Their big 3 only is at 3.4. And they are about 80% of the overall number. So I don't think that other 20% gonna raise it a lot. So I'm projecting 2024 to be lower than 2023. So significant incidents overview. We had 2 reportable incidents, and just ironically, it's like this time last year, this week last year, we had 2 incidents, reportable incidents, and then we had 2 non-reportable incidents as well in 2024. One of them followed up in February of 24, and the other one December of 24. Incident investigation program. All right. So let me go back to that. We're talking about incidents, reportable incidents, non-reportable incidents. Well, another one of the things that we're audited on is our investigation program. And we score at the top of the chart. Unfortunately, we have incidents, and we hope we don't, but we get in there and we try to figure out what happened. And we score right at the top of finding that out and investigating. And so we have some open investigations right now that we try not to discuss too much, but just know that we're at the top of that when it comes to investigating and finding out what happened. Distribution system leaks. Okay, gas distribution system leaks. Let's look at the gray number. The gray number is the hazardous leaks eliminated or repaired per 1,000. Okay, as you can see, that number is the lowest it has been in that history of that chart. That number is low, and what a hazardous leak is leaks that has to be fixed when it's found that day, right? And that's the lowest number out of all those years, which means that there's less hazardous leaks out there to be repaired. That's a good number. That's a good trend for that gray number to be going down. And hopefully it'll stay down and continue to go down, because that means that a line has been damaged and is leaking. That means that somebody called in a leak and they graded it a grade 1 leak, and therefore something has to happen that day. All right, and then as you can see, the light blue line, total leaks eliminated or repaired. So it's not as high, as some of the other years, but let's look at the blue number, the dark blue line I mean. So leaks scheduled for repair at the end of the year. A lot more leaks are scheduled for that end of the year. So there's two reasons for that number being high as it is, as high as it's ever been, because a larger gas company did two things. They started running, I call it Picaro. That's the name brand, but what it is the car that goes around and through the community picking up leaks. They started running that, and so therefore more leaks were found. That's new technology to find leaks, and it's showing that it's working because more leaks are found. And also, they changed policies around that time, whereas a grade 2 leak is be fixed in 6 months instead of one year, and a grade C leak would be fixed in a year versus letting it carry over, and monitoring it. So therefore, that dark blue number is higher for that reason. So more leaks are scheduled for the repair at the end of the year, and because they're not carrying over like they used to. All right. So hopefully everybody in here would look at this chart and carry this to the natural gas operators and let them know there's money out there. There's some free money out there. There's grant money if you have bad line, bad pipe in the ground. The federal government is wanting you to get that out of the ground in the name of safety. And they're giving you money to do it. Okay? So as you can see, IUCA are replacing 14 miles of cast iron. Cast iron is the worst pipe that's in the ground. We only have 2 systems in Mississippi that has cast iron that's left. Canton was one of them. Had 3. Canton got rid of theirs. But IUCA and Holly Springs are the 2 that has cast iron. IUCA is about to get rid of theirs. They applied for this grant, $8.2 million they got, and that will take care of all their cast iron and some of their services. Moss Point got $3.9 million. Yes.
What technology are they moving to? They move from cast iron to what?
Oh, to plastic. Polyethylene. I think plastic is a lot of different plastics, but polyethylene.
Cotton, are you familiar with how many miles does Holly Springs have? You know?
About 14.
About 14 miles. Okay.
For a long time, they reported 2.7, and then they changed operator. They brought in a third-party contractor to do evaluation of the system, and they found out they had more than they thought they did. And then they applied for this grant last year, and they got rejected because there was a conflict in the amount they had been reporting on the annual report versus what they actually had. So the PIMS have rejected their grant, but this year they got it.
Got you. So Holly Springs did get the grant for this year?
No, Holly
Oh.
Springs, I don't even know if I don't think they probably applied for it. They did not get one.
I know
They need to be encouraged to do so.
your team had been in that area for a while. Yeah. Everything.
We're struggling with them in some areas.
Are they in compliance now?
No, there's a PSC order.
Yeah.
That's open right now about the cast iron.
Good deal. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Could we produce a document that shows the condition of our pipeline statewide so that we could show folks across the street, well, this is what you're living on top of?
Absolutely, it can be done.
And I want to do the same thing with all our utilities.
Yeah.
Water. If we can just show a naked look of the conditions of the underground utilities and the service quality of all our utilities, well, with you specifically natural gas and other pipeline things, but I think folks would be shocked if they knew what they were building on top of it.
You're not supposed to build on top of a pipeline, but building.
But building near.
Now, these 3 that PHMSA has a list of priorities, and these 3 are priorities. If you can show that you have these, chances are you're going to get some money. Okay? So Moss Point, almost $4 million to replace 14 miles of bare steel. If you got steel in the ground, it should be coated. They have some stuff that's not coated. So they moved to the top of the list and getting money. They almost got $500,000 last year. And Commissioner, Carr was there part of that donation, at Moss Point last year, and they applied again and got 3.9 more. New Albany, 7.2 million to replace 13.5 miles of invasion tubing. Invasion tubing is thin wall pipe, okay? It's just not thick enough. It's hard to weld on it. If you try to weld it and repair it, it's something to burn through it and just cause more problems, right? So you move to the top of this list on that. And Holly Springs would be the only one that still have cast iron once IU can get theirs out of the ground.
Can you tell us the pressure that these are I know they're different pressures. Why it's so important of the pressure of these versus the PVC, as you call
Cast iron has a limitation on pressure, right? I think it's 25 pounds. You can't go more than 25 pounds on cast iron. And now the bare steel, you can do just steel heavy MAOP at about 60 if that's what you want. If it's bare, it just means that it has more tendency to corrode. If it's not corroding, it's just as strong as any other pipe. And then on the invasion tubing, it's just a thinner wall pipe. And generally, it's going to be medium pressure, which means less than 50 pounds.
it? You can get pit holes in it also. correct?
In those steel, you can get pit holes and the invasion tubing as well.
But you don't
pit
have
holes.
those issues with the PVC.
PVC is just easier to damage if you hit it.
Well, I'm talking
If you dig into it.
from a corrosion.
Oh, you're right.
standpoint.
Yeah, no corrosion on on the polyethylene. On the
Mr.
polyethylene, the only thing you got to do is add a tracer wire to it so that you can locate it.
Mhm.
What's the pressure for polyethylene? What's the pressure for polyethylene?
It's 60 pound MAOP. Most of them operating at about maybe 40, 45 MOP,
So it's
maximum
kind of
allowable
a
operating pressure.
Schedule 80 or better.
Well, Schedule 80 is a PVC pipe,
Yeah,
and we've
but
got.
I'm talking about the thickness of it. It would be equal or
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with how thick Schedule 80 is,
Mhm.
but polyethylene is pretty
thick.
thick.
On the cast iron, obviously it's pretty old. Like Iuka, what year do you think that was put in, cast iron?
I'll have to look at the annual report and tell you, but it will be old.
And,
It is some of the oldest pipe out there.
and obviously the problems with that is leaks. Are they more prone to leaks?
It's
or-
brittle. Cast iron is a brittle pipe. You can just about take a hammer and hit it, and it'll kind of crumble. It's that cast iron pipe. I don't know if you ever seen cast iron, old cast iron furniture, lawn furniture, and that kind of stuff. It just breaks easy. It's not good for pipe. When they put it in, they thought it were 100 years ago.
Cast iron skillets. I mean, they seem to hold up pretty good, but I know what you're talking about. The cast iron furniture legs will break off and stuff. It's brittle.
Yeah, it's just brittle.
So sorry to go back to Holly Springs, but so their system, are they prone to a lot of leaks because of the cast iron that they're using, or do you know?
Yeah, yes. Cast iron have bell spigot joint, which means that it's not just welded normally. It's some kind of fitting bell spigot joint, and those joints have a tendency to leak over time. And and it's hard to make the work on. You keep tightening them, like I said, brittle. You could crack the pipe when you're working on it and all that kind of stuff. And just not long ago, about a month ago, we had a situation with leaks up there. And we sent an inspector up there and had to sit on them for a little while until they got that situation taken care of. But they had a number of leaks in the neighborhood up there that we had to address up there about 6 weeks ago.
We just had a community meeting up there about the utility district, and gas leaks came up quite a bit. One school teacher said she smelled gas. I know we turned it in. We also appreciate y'all's work there, and stay on.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Update on proposed legislation, increased penalty levels. House Bill 1297 and Senate Bill 2368 is currently across the street at the legislature, and they are they've been introduced to the committee, but they have not come out of committee yet. And pretty much what that increased penalty levels are is increasing the penalty level from what the current state levels are to match the federal penalty level.
Just for clarification, because I know a lot of legislators watch our summits. What's the significance if you don't increase them? What happens?
Okay, that very first slide that I started out with the 60105 agreement versus the 60106 agreement. If the state does not adopt those penalty levels, federal government is gonna take us to a 60106 agreement. And what that means is, it's gonna take us from a 105 to a 106. And what that means is that we would still do inspection, but the federal government would do enforcement. They will enforce at the penalty level that they have. And they will be heavy-handed. And they will not differentiate a little bitty town like Utica versus a big company like Centerpoint Atmos, right? To them, it's a violation. It's a violation. So what that mean that the enforcement and the penalty that's issued is taken out of the hands of the commission and given to PHMSA. And so that's what the difference is. If we do not increase those penalty levels, they would do the enforcement, and that may not be a good thing. And I do want to say,
So it'd be incumbent upon us upon the legislature to pass that if you want to keep the federal government, the federal regulators out,
yes, sir. That's a
We'll
very
stop a
accurate
federal
statement.
takeover.
Yes, sir.
or federal overreach, some people say.
Yeah, oversight, overreach.
Well,
But in the way that,
it'll be because of our inaction to meet certain standards, so the federal will have to reach those. Yeah. Let's make that happen.
in the way that legislation and the way PHMSA's rule is up to. You will find up to that level. You may not never get to that high level. You can find people at a lower level, but the wording has to include their penalty level. And then you may say, okay, I'm gonna fine $100,000 instead of $1 million. But that'll be the discretion of the commission and not the federal government.
So what you're saying, again, just for clarification, for legislators watching, just because you raise the potential penalty doesn't mean that you're obviously going to charge that top level all the time.
That's
But
correct.
you can.
That's correct. And
Who determines?
And also, I do want to say that if PHMSA does the enforcement, they collect the money. Well, the money don't come to the state. The fine does not come back to the state. It goes to them, to the federal government. Whereas if the PSC issue a penalty or fine, then it comes to the state of Mississippi.
Who determines the fine? The amount?
The federal government, it changes every year due to inflation, but it just goes up a little bit a year, depends on the inflation number. But it's set by the federal government.
So if you have a leak in Long Beach, Mississippi, and it's $1,000, but you have one in Jackson, same leak, same set of circumstances, still $1,000. We're not gonna be.
For the federal government
Yeah.
concern, yes.
But from a state level, once we take back over, and if this bill passes, does it activate at that point? Do we get
You
back?
know, I talked to the federal government about that, and I think if we can make that happen soon, the way I understand it is if we wait to April, we're probably waiting too long. But if it's enacted, like, as soon as it passes, instead of waiting to July,
Mhm.
and we probably can get that reversed. Because as of July 1st, as of January 1st that just passed, we are under a 106 agreement right now.
So can we pass something at the Public Service Commission?
It would have to be
Sure,
legislative.
Legislature, no, it has to go through the legislature, and those bills are over there now, and hopefully none of the operators in here will lobby against that bill, because you understand the magnitude of what's going on. Or encourage your lobbyists to lobby for it.
Thank you for
We'll
that
get a show of
clarification.
hands.
All right, so the PSC does not operate in a silo by themselves. So we have industry partners that we work with, and several of them are in here today, and several of them will be giving presentations. But I just want to go through and show you that we work closely with these different groups, these associations, these agencies. Mississippi 811, Damage Prevention Board, Mississippi Natural Gas Association, Mississippi Drug Testing Consortium, Mississippi Gas, Municipal Gas Association of Mississippi, which is MGAM, American Gas Association, American Public Gas Association, and Common Ground Alliance, and also PHMSA. So with all of these different groups, you know, there's a lot of resources out there for us. There's a lot of resources out there for operators, and there's a lot of information out there whenever you need to reach out and bounce something off of somebody. Looking forward, I'm about to wrap up. I'm past my time, but what we're looking forward to: continue to educate stakeholders and the public. We want to continue reducing excavation damages to pipelines, and we want to utilize data to identify trends. And we want to utilize inspector assistance. Now, that's inspector assistance, IA, just the opposite of AI that most people are aware of. Inspector assistance is a new program that we just went to that PHMSA have been encouraging states to go to. And probably about 75% of the states has gone to IA. And that inspector assistance is a new inspection system that drills down even more into operators' records, into their maintenance, into everything that they do. So we are into IA as of January the 1st, and we're using different technology, different inspection forms to do inspection. Okay, also looking forward to shameless plug, right? I'm also looking forward to retiring on March 31st, 2025. And that concludes my presentation. Is there any questions before we're done?
Commissioner?
Well, thank you for your time and service. I didn't know you were retiring.
Yes.
Or maybe you told me and I forgot, but
Yeah.
thank you for your presentation. I look forward to continuing to work and pick your brain. And I look forward to you having a great retirement.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Don't worry, you won't be retired long. I was retired all of 6 months, and I had to find something to do.
Find something to do.
Mr. Cotton, thank you for your presentation again, and hopefully you'll still be available to us some if we have some questions after March 31st.
Absolutely. If you have any questions, feel free to call me.
Thank you for your service. Appreciate your
Catherine
presentation.
Collier will know how to get a hold of me even after I'm gone.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Cotton. Okay, moving right along. Next, we're going to recognize CenterPoint Energy Emergency Response.
I had to hold one by hand, I would end up walking around. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jay Raber. I am Operations Director for Mississippi with CenterPoint Energy. And today, where is my presentation? We'll talk about, there we go. We'll talk today about emergency operations management. Very broad topic. We're going to touch on various pieces of it, from relatively minor daily incidents to significant incidents and how we handle them. Regardless of the type of incident, it involves people. It's going to involve a plan that I will share with you, equipment, training, and constant evaluation of our effort to continually improve. Our core value, number one core value, is safety of our system, safety of the public, communities we serve, our customers, and our employees. We strive to increase our safety factors through replacement and strengthening of our systems, upgrades to our equipment, public education, customer education, damage prevention efforts in conjunction with many companies here today. And we've had success with that, but we still have emergencies and always will, right, in this industry. So
Today I'm going to focus on our response. Starts with people. We'll go over a little bit the service territory that we cover. 136,000 meters that we serve, customers that we serve, 4,300 miles of main pipeline, 150 employees in the state. 3/4 of those are involved in the day-to-day operation of our systems, operations, maintenance, upgrades, and emergency response on our systems. You see our 4 service centers scattered throughout the state. You can look at that map and see a very broad geographic scope. Oxford, for instance, the bulk of our customers are in Oxford, but there's also 2,500 customers in several counties scattered through the Mississippi Delta. Same in the Laurel service area, everywhere. Gulfport's the smallest area on there, but when you think about driving from St. Louis across to Pascagoula, it takes a minute. So a huge part of our focus in regard to emergency response and just customer service in general is recruiting people that reside in the right areas. They work from home, basically. They have communications equipment, laptops in their vehicles. They receive their orders each morning and they go to work in those areas, providing service to our customers. During the day, they're interrupted sometimes by emergency orders. So we already have the right people in the right places, as close as possible to where emergencies may arise. I want to point this out. I think everybody here is fully aware that Delta Utilities, new gas company, we're going to become part of them sometime before the end of this quarter, which I guess leaves us just a few weeks. I point this out because I want everybody to understand the information we go over today. The only thing that's changing with us is the name on our shirt and the name on the side of our trucks. It's the same people, every one of us, operating the system, same policies, same procedures, same core values. So I wanted to put that there for everyone's information. Let's talk about emergency operations plans. I think the first step is to actually define what an emergency is. That picture's an emergency, for sure. That's on the way far end of the scale, isn't it? Okay. Gas leaks. We receive we receive an average of 16 leak orders a day where a customer calls, reports a smell of gas, whether it's inside or outside, whether it's weak or strong, whether it's night or day, weekend or Wednesday afternoon. We classify that as an emergency order. We'll get into more of those later and how we track our progress on those. So even though the vast majority of those are very insignificant and they're handled very quickly that day, they still are classified in our industry as an emergency order. Fires of different types, severe weather events can result in some pretty significant damage to our systems. Any type of outage where customers have lost service, most of which are caused these days by third-party damages that we all strive to reduce. For large-scale issues where we've had a large loss of service to customers or a major event, we have adopted the National Incident Management System. Like all utilities, like the first responders in the communities and counties and states we serve, we are all part of the same process. We use the same structure. The structure can be modified to fit the event, gives us the ability to more properly manage events and the response. And at the end, the documentation that we receive through this process helps us in our after-action reviews and our ability to continue to improve. So there's 4 different levels, briefly, of emergency. Level 4 is what I talked about earlier. It happens every day. That's what's happening right now. There's someone somewhere with our company that's repairing a leak at a customer's house, for instance. Level 3 is more concerning incident. It's something that probably cannot be handled with our local personnel on their own. Maybe some of the other service centers that I pointed out earlier have to send some help or assistance. But it doesn't necessarily reach a level of us having to initiate our emergency operation or activate our emergency operations center. Level 2 is more severe. It's certainly at least a portion of our emergency operations center is activated because we're going to need help across many departments, and possibly from other states, to address the issue. And level 1 is red for a reason. That's the worst thing that could possibly happen. Loss of a major system, great public, disruption, major hurricane. There's some examples here. Again, any gas leak call we receive, any third-party damage call we receive. In this case, it's probably something that's a relatively small pipe that can be repaired by our first responder with some help from second responder, construction technicians. Minor outages, maybe we lost service to 15 or 20 meters, but it's certainly something that we can repair and restore pretty quickly. Level 3, probably the most common event here would be, again, third-party damage. Didn't put it on the slide, but third-party damage that results in loss of, 100 or more customers. Severe weather events, tornado activity that causes damage to our system. Level 2, and I'm going to give you an example of this one in a few minutes that we used last year, but more significantly, significant third party, we've lost service maybe to 500 or more customers. This also is generally where we start with our hurricane preparedness when there's a storm in the Gulf. That's the example we'll get to in just a minute. Level 1 is a Katrina type event. It's going to take multiple departments, multiple resources, probably some mutual aid assistance from other companies. The response will take days. The overall reactivation of the system could take up to weeks. This structure, I know that's busy. A busy slide, but that is a level 2 incident command structure. We implemented this last year in September in advance of Hurricane Francine, the storm's name. There was a time when the Mississippi coast was under a hurricane watch. You cannot wait until the storm is ashore to begin to respond. There's a lot of things that have to be in place in advance or you won't have access to them. So, but I would happen to be the incident commander for that. We had the quality of people that I worked with. That was the easiest job on the whole chart. We have liaison box there, a couple of boxes down. There's several people that were in those boxes. We had people communicating with Harrison County, with all the cities along the coast, maintaining contact with them, attending their planning meetings. We also, of course, had contact. I was on the phone 2 or 3 times, after I recall, with Director Cotton, and James Richardson was keeping you and your staffs informed of our plans and our preparation. Next to that one, another key piece of these is public education, communication section. We were able, through various means, to get our safety message out to customers pretty effectively, I believe. Many social media channels, press releases, radio, TV, newspaper, websites, and email to the customers that we have email for and text. What do I do with my gas meter? Nothing. If I have to evacuate, what are the steps I take if I smell gas? What's CenterPoint doing to prepare? Those types of messages were out. Over on the left, that's the operations section. That group there has a leader, and that group is responsible for preparing our system ahead of storm impact. We're responsible for responding to damage that may occur as soon as it's safe to do so. There's a section in there where it addresses line locating and damage prevention. Many times these events happen and we don't necessarily have damage of a significant nature to our system, but the power companies do. Well, they have work to do. Their goal is to restore power as quickly as possible. A lot of that's going to require pole replacement. So we have a group that's planned and assigned ahead of time to work with the local power companies. We've even gone to past events where we had employees stationed with power crews, make sure that we protect our system and at the same time allows them the opportunity to get power restored as quickly as possible. Middle piece is resource and planning. That group uses a lot of different methods to help us determine, based on possible damage, how many employees we think that we need. Develop rosters of employees from outside areas who are willing to travel to assist. Logistics. Everything in there has to be done ahead of the storm. Last September, we had diesel and gasoline reserved, not delivered, but it was an hour away with one phone call. The need had arisen. Catering services for the employees, and we had blocks of rooms reserved at hotels in Gulfport. The great thing about this, it turned in for us to be a non-event, right? And as soon as we knew that we were going to be in the clear, we released all of those items, and I'm sure they went straight to Louisiana for other utility companies. But this structure, everyone in here uses it, or version of it, allows us to maintain contact with you, contact with the cities that we serve, and then after the event, maintain contact and proper communication channels with the emergency responders that we work with. So a little bit different view of it. I'll stress the communication part of this. We have our structure. We may have multiple representatives that are assigned to cities who may be affected. We may have multiple representatives in the counties. And certainly we'll have representatives assigned to the Public Service Commission. The better, I suppose that's better. It's a very busy slide. Put it in there because I want everybody to know that we have an assigned person, James Richardson, who will be in future events, maintaining contact with you and your staff. All right, we've talked about plan, we've talked about people. What's some of the equipment? I thought you might want to see some of the equipment that we use to address emergencies. The vehicle on the left is a Paro leak survey system that we've been utilizing for several years now. We use it on a daily basis in our proactive leak detection efforts. But as it applies to emergencies, after tornado events, that car can drive to a system. It has a gas analyzer in it, and it combines all types of factors, wind and direction and all these things, and it can tell us if we have a suspected leak. It won't tell us the exact location, but it can narrow it down enough to where a human can follow behind it with other equipment pretty quickly. It gives you a great way to survey a broad part of your system very quickly. The equipment we use daily is in that middle screen. That gentleman has a combustible gas indicator in his hand. All of our technicians have these. Sir.
Excuse me, sir. Is that a automated vehicle? Is it driverless?
Yes. No, it's there's a driver. And you notice that pictures at night. It's much more effective at night. So it's patrolling our systems at night.
To the winds now.
Well,
Less traffic.
and I am not an expert on it, but the ability to detect the natural gas is higher at night. I think sun might have something to do with it. There's a gentleman in here that knows more about this. Hey, you know what? This is interactive, Chad. You will? Okay. All right. He's an expert. But that equipment is very valuable afterwards. Once you look at the right, too, this is another piece of technology that's relatively new to the industry. We can't always access everywhere we need to be or want to be. There's a handheld unit, different brands out now that a employee can survey about 120 feet circle around their location. So if there's access to building, it'll go through glass as well, so we can tell if there's happens to be leakage inside of a structure or outside in areas that we cannot easily access. How do we keep our employees safe? Wear flame retardant clothing at all times. All of us do anytime we're on a center point job. Personal gas monitors, I mentioned earlier. Safety of our employees, obviously extremely important to us. Those monitors tell us if we are in a hazardous atmosphere. And I added this slide, the picture on the left. Gentleman using self-contained breathing equipment to make temporary repairs to a leak. It is our goal to do everything we can to not have to enter that type of an atmosphere. We have tools, equipment, and training to control natural gas leaks, damages from remote locations outside of the gaseous atmosphere. But occasionally, an incident will arise. Many factors are evaluated, many different angles, and a lot of people involved in those decisions. But I wanted you to know, and we have used this. People are trained on it, what the difference in a normal day is. They've added a different layer there of flame retardant clothing over what they already had. Everybody has their own mask that they're fit tested for every year. Their equipment's constantly inspected. What's not in the picture is 2 large fans, evacuation fans, such as what the fire departments would use, and those are set up to blow the gaseous atmosphere away from the job site. Last resort type of function there. All the equipment and people are great. The plan is great, but it's not going to work if we don't train constantly, basically. This is just a slide that shows a person's incident command structure training is required of all of us. All the field employees go through some version of this, as well as constant training throughout the year. Annual refresher training on all the processes and procedures that they follow. Annual training on the use and care of all the equipment that they use. Director Cotton mentioned earlier, operator qualification training is a constant, the daily activity among our work group. Maintain their certification. There's many reports that go in behind it, and every one of our employees is fully operator qualified, or they do not work. How do we know how we're doing? How do we know how we're doing? We have all the plans in the world and the training and the equipment, but what do we use to track? Come a long way in the industry. We're able now to use various dashboards to track our response times. This is an example of what I look at, many of us look at every day. You can drill through that. Emergencies are going to happen. There's some things that we can't control. We can have some control and effect on how quickly we're able to respond. We do not know if a particular leak is truly an emergency or truly a hazard until we get there. So we track every step from order creation to dispatching to the truck, the tech recognizing it, to the technician getting on site. Technology has allowed us to make great strides in this area. We have specialized phone lines that go through our call center, straight to emergency, qualified administrative employees who handle the orders. We have a specialized dispatch center that handles emergency orders only. And they do not have to make a decision anymore on who to send it to because of GPS technology in all of our vehicles. So, technician receives the order, and then there's the driving factor. We're not emergency responders, like the police and fire. We follow all of the safe driving, traffic laws, make sure we stay safe and the public stays safe. But there are steps in there, areas of that process where we've been able to save some time. 6, 7 years ago, our response time in the state from order creation to technician on site was 36, 37 minutes. And this past year, we were able to achieve 27 and a half. So that's a huge improvement, and it's something that we will continue to strive to improve. It's the last piece, and one of the more important, all of it is, but our relationship, fire department, police department, critical when something serious nature is going on. You see one of our meetings there in the bottom left with the fire department where we go over our policies and procedures and they discuss theirs with us. The tabletop drills, some classroom instruction, but those folks are critical to proper response, safe response for all of it. That, I believe, is my presentation summarized. Command system allows us to work with local officials and properly manage events. Our employees are trained, they are equipped, and they're passionate about taking care of our customers and our system. There's nothing that we as a group cannot handle within our system. We achieve that through response drills, and we track data in an effort to continually improve. And I would love to entertain questions if anyone has any.
Thank you for your presentation. Any questions, Commissioner?
Well, first, thank you for a thorough presentation, and I look forward to continuing to work, and we're all working here to make our systems better. If anything you can say that we can do better, please feel free to let us know.
We will. And those service centers I showed a while ago, you're all welcome in them anytime. We would love to take you out. I know you're busy, but if you spare an hour, come to Pearl.
Yes, sir. We'll
Take
put it up.
you out and show you some of the firsthand. So, thank you.
Commissioner Carr, you have any questions? Thank you for your presentation. Yeah, we'll definitely come visit you as well. And thanks again for all y'all do for the people of Mississippi.
Do we have an email copy of these presentations? Okay, thank you.
Moving on, we'll continue with Atmos Energy operations and awareness efforts. Wendy's going to do it. Okay.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. We appreciate the opportunity to present to you today. For our attendees, my name is Wendy Collins. I'm the Vice President of Rates and Regulatory Affairs for our Mississippi Division of Atmos Energy. I'm going to kick things off today, but I'll quickly turn it over to Chad Kahn, who is our incoming Vice President of Technical Services, and then also we'll hear from Davis Gates, our Manager of Public Affairs. For our attendees who are not that familiar with our company, we are based in Dallas, Texas. We're headquartered there. We are the largest natural gas only distribution company in the country. So we have no electric operations. We are a natural gas distribution company. Enterprise-wide, we have about 5,000 employees. We serve over 3 million customers in 1,400 communities with our 8 states. We have about 75,000 miles of pipe in those 8 states. And, you know, Rick had mentioned training. We have a really robust training center in the Dallas area, the CKD Center, where we have actually constructed a glass city where our employees can go and get hands-on training in a controlled environment. In Mississippi, Atmos Energy serves about 9% of the enterprise's customers, so that's a little over 270,000 customers and 110 communities throughout mostly the central and northern part of the state. We do have some operations in the southern district and the Nashville Valley. Back in 2012, Atmos Energy established a new vision to be the safest provider of natural gas. And that's something that is a primary focus for us every single day. We have over 7,000 miles of pipe here in Mississippi. And while Chad will speak to this in our program for replacing our aging infrastructure in a little more detail, it's important to know that our company has been and will continue to invest in this. In the past 10 plus years, we've invested over $850 million to enhance the safety and reliability of our system. And as Chad will discuss, these critical investments really make a difference. With the significant cold weather events we've encountered this January, we were able to maintain safe and reliable service. It does. All right, so I'll turn it over to Chad.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Commissioners, for having us today. Just take you through some of the items that Wendy mentioned. Whoa, that's really sorry.
That was quick.
And I'm done, yeah. Any questions? All right, so Wendy talked about our vision and to be the safest natural gas provider of natural gas. Something that we live every day, something that we embody when we are making difficult decisions. What we need to say, are we doing the right thing? Are we making the right decisions? Is this going to make our system safer? Is it going to make the public safer? Is it going to make our safer? For us, you know, it's just not an end game. There's a continual effort to improve and grow as we learn more. We adapt and we take action. So today I'll hit on all these bullets a little more in detail, but so Ricky talked to you about the regulatory body. So the specific code that governs what we must do as a utility is 49 CFR Part 192. And so really that is the federal code that outlines the minimum safety standards to operate a natural gas system. We believe that, you know, yes, this is the minimum guideline, but we're not about doing the minimum. Everything we do really focuses more on the vision than it's not just about what the code requires. So first piece of that is the leak management. The code itself requires us to leak survey our natural gas facilities on a frequency, in some cases up to 5 years. But we are always focused on the safety aspect, so we are constantly pushing towards increasing those frequencies even more. One of the ways that we're able to do that is to utilize what we call at Atmos the AMLD, Advanced Mobile Leak Detection. Centerpoint calls it PICARO. But we are leaning on that technology more and more. It is a traditional surveys, traditional equipment. You're using a piece of equipment, its high sensitivity is parts per million. And you have someone walking on top of the ground, they get about 2.5 miles of main per day. So with the vehicle, however, you're in the parts per billion sensitivity range, so it means it's 1,000 times more sensitive than other equipment that has been historically used. And so we put that in the vehicle itself to, excuse me, we add that inside of a vehicle. It allows us to go from surveying 2.5 miles a day to about 15 to 20 miles a night. So it significantly increases the speed in which we're able to survey our assets. So, Commissioner, you asked why they drive at night earlier. It's really about the atmospheric pressure. If you think about the fog that we experienced this morning, it cools down at night and pushing everything down towards the ground. And so when we drive at night, we find that we have a much better, much clearer result of where. Oh, yeah, stand back here, I guess. So we have a much more clear result of where those indications could be. It's just pushing that plume down to the street where the car would be. So, that's the reason for it. We still do things during the day. One of the other pieces, we're constantly, I told you, we're constantly looking to increase our survey frequencies. We're in the effort now to move from extended surveys into where we are surveying our pipe through AMLD or other traditional methods every 2 years. So we're significantly pulling that forward. In addition to that, we are doing our compliance surveys at night, getting those pre-compliance reads. And we're also doing what we call a special survey during the day, where the car is operating nearly 24/7, and it is looking. We're compliance surveying some areas, special surveying the ones that we wouldn't have gotten to until the next year. So the idea is, over time, we will build into a system where we are surveying every aspect of our natural gas system every year, via compliant or non-compliant.
So is it monitoring and spitting it out to, say you have a leak, you got different levels of leak, correct? So if you get to a level, worst case scenario, y'all send out a response team, stop right there and try to figure out where the leak is?
We do have some thresholds that we keep a close eye on to make sure that there's nothing significant out there, so that the car, the way it works is it knows its GPS location, high resolution GPS. It understands wind speed and direction, and so it's doing what I call nerd math to calculate, where that's at in the world and drop what Mr. Avery said as an indication to say, hey, there may be a leak here. So what that means with the vehicle is, if you have a gas line that's leaking closer to the road, and that car drives beside it, you may actually get a stronger reading there than you would if you had a gas line that was leaking further away from the road. So that higher indication values that we talk about doesn't always mean that it's a more significant leak or something of that nature. It could just mean that the location, if there is actually a leak there, is just closer to the car. So we do have some thresholds, however, that we make sure we address.
It's my understanding it can pick up a pilot light. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So, the way I like to describe the sensitivity of the car is picturing an Olympic-sized swimming pool. That unit has the ability to detect a single drop of heat inside that swimming pool. So it is, we can pick up anything that, that we have to pay attention when we drive behind. Make sure we're not driving behind a natural gas, garbage truck or things like that, because even, those small trace amounts that are on the pool.
So this is a huge investment for safety.
Absolutely. We currently have 2 units that we are operating in Mississippi. We are working towards getting a 3rd unit, because all of that is in an effort to, as I mentioned earlier, in future years, get to where we can confidently say we assessed our pipe in one way or the other. a significant investment, but it is, it aligns so well with our vision of continual improvement, continual surveillance, all that kind of stuff.
We had a comment online that they can't hear, so
Oh,
and
sorry.
speaking to the mic. So,
I
sorry.
was scared to get too close to it.
No, no, just-
Do that last thing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
How often is the machine calibrated and who calibrates?
So it speaks back and forth to a cloud-based system. Every day when the unit is powered up, it goes through a self-calibration check. It's got some internal ability in there to verify that everything is a proper calibration and that it runs through its normal filters, all those types of things. So it's a daily, or if the vehicle were to never turn off, it would, it would just be continuous.
I know it's a weird question. Do you ever have any collaboration with other municipally owned natural gas companies that want to lease or pay for services of these cars?
So that gets difficult very quickly. But one of the things that we do, we utilize contractors for a lot of this work. It's complicated how what we own with the vehicle, what they own, but there are businesses out there that that own these units themselves, and they're able to provide some of those services.
So does Atmos own the two that are operating in the state now?
We own the equipment that is inside the vehicle, and we have multiple different contractors that operate those vehicles based on need and location.
Do you track like when you detect, when you classify something that it picks up other than the pilot light, like you said, a leak? What's the response time normally? Do you have you keep track of that, or what's your goal?
It takes a while for the process to take place. You drive the car at night. There are multiple what we call runs, so we don't just drive at one time. We do actually have a multi-drive system to make sure we're getting good coverage, and every time you cross the same area, that indication gets more and more refined, right? So I'm gonna do it again. I told you I was getting too close. So we have targeted timelines to work those indications. As we increase our speed, we have to increase our resources to work those indications, and we really try to keep it down to just a few days between us getting the report that says, hey, here's where we think these indications could be, and actually working.
Okay.
Bigger? Okay, so I focus a lot on that. The other aspect of the leak management piece is our leak repair side. I didn't know this until recently, but Atmos is one of the first to adopt the EPPGC guidance on leak repair timeline for non-hazardous leaks. And so right now, our current standard is to repair grade 2 leaks within 6 months and grade 3 leaks within 12 months. We have poured a significant amount of time, resource, and effort to work that down to an even lower number. Right now, we are targeting to get to down to 30-day repair windows. And once the car runs, we find the indications, then within 30 days, we're making every effort possible to get out there and make the repairs on that.
Winter weather.
Yeah. So just to summarize the leak management piece, it's really all ties in. We're surveying more accurately. We're surveying faster. We're finding indications faster. We're identifying. We're working indications faster. We're finding leaks faster, and then we have to all of that as I mentioned. We spent a lot of time on that. These other topics, I'll touch real quick on some of these. Damage prevention, we've significantly increased our resources towards this. We believe this is one of the biggest risks to our assets and the safety of our customers. We have dedicated specific headcount over the last few years that has grown exponentially, and we are looking into rolling out some AI type analysis programs that allow us to review one-call tickets, and it helps us identify the tickets that could be more at risk than others based on multiple factors. I'll skip down to the replacement and remediation of pipelines. We have a very robust integrity management program. Hundreds of variables go into that, but it all is based on the history of the maintenance on the pipe age, coating, material, all those types of things. So, Mr. Cotton talked about cast iron replacement, things like that. That all factors into these integrity management programs, and what that does is it helps us use make data-driven decisions. Right? So, we work very hard to make sure that we identify the pipe we're going to replace, but also remediative action if there's areas that we feel we need to leak survey more often, we're doing that. If there are areas we feel that we need to add more test points to increase our cathodic protection oversight, we do that. So all that plays into effect. Winter preparation. This is really our Super Bowl. You'll hear that a lot with gas companies, but winter prep is not something that we talk about a week before the storm comes in. It is a year-round conversation. It drives so many of our decisions, so many things. We're not only working, evaluating, and continually improving our own systems, we also work with our upstream suppliers to ensure that our winter preparation plans align with theirs. We have a significant pressure monitoring system, data, you may have heard it called, where we're able to, in real time, monitor the health of our system from a pressure perspective. So during the winter storms that we've seen this year, we've been able to, through technology, monitor all of our critical inputs, monitor areas that we believe may have some pressure issues and things of that nature. And all that helps us drive our pressure improvement plan. So we have areas within Mississippi that are growing significantly, and we feel that as we grow with those areas, there is existing infrastructure that needs to be put in place for redundancy to make it more robust, things of that nature. So all of that goes into the decision making of how we implement our pressure improvement plan, and it really is. A lot of people, I think, for me, it's system improvement projects tie directly to safety. I never want grandma to not be able to depend on the service that we provide. When it's cold, we want that gas to make it to their house. And these system improvement projects in the background, they're not seen often, but the effort we put there has significant impact. As Wendy said, we've gone through all these winter storms, and we have not experienced any outages in Mississippi. For that guard, our plan is being effective. All right, I will turn it over to the less talkative one. Sorry for the microphone debacle.
You're good. Thank you. Appreciate the presentation. Good job. Okay, thanks.
All right, I'll try to be quick just because try to get out of here pretty fast. I'm a little nervous up here in front of you gentlemen. So I will be talking about the things that I think are the fun things at Atmos, the communication with customers, public awareness and education. And as Chad spoke to some of our stay safe this winter tips, we've got simple things like how to protect your natural gas meters, unblock vents, make sure you never use your oven or a gas stove top to heat your home. That was something we did way back when I was a young lad. And tips to minimize frozen pipe risk. So leave faucets running, trickle, leave cabinet doors open, and close all doors and windows to keep heat inside if possible. And another thing, as far as it goes with public awareness and education, to customers and to public officials, one key thing we like to do are these things we like to call lunch and learns, which is we reach out to local police departments, mayor, whoever's willing to listen in the city. Atmos provides lunch. We sit down and we go through high level details about, or we get as detailed as the customer would like in regards to operations and exactly what it is we do at Atmos. A lot of times, being engrossed in this industry, you hear the same thing every single day, and you forget that customers are not as familiar with what you're doing and what's going on. So we love to have those opportunities to teach them and show them just a good piece of our industry and our company. And another thing, while we do provide that educational portion, another key aspect of those lunch and learns is just providing direct contact and provide them with my personal cell phone number, for example. Direct contact with Atmos. So if the mayor of Clinton or whoever else has an issue, they can call me directly, and we can trickle that down and sort out whatever problem it may be. If you ask any of your investigators here at the commission, when they call Atmos, they get myself, Wendy, or Connor over there. So moving on, the next thing, education programs. Another great example of that is we're working with Ms. Nyla McClure with Commissioner Stamp's office to set up a demonstration and presentation at Timberland School. I believe it's for 4th and 5th graders. Never too young to start learning about the gas company. And I believe that's on February the 20th. While we were standing up here, I actually got emails that there are going to be more people there than I was anticipating, perhaps some fire department and other police officials. So we're looking forward to that. And school pipe testing. So as far as education goes, the school pipe testing is following the leadership of the commission when it issued that school pipe testing resolution, I believe it was last year. And in following suit, Atmos has proposed a bill to the legislature this session. Schools have unique challenges.
Just to clarify what you're talking about, we encourage all natural gas companies and LP Gas to go in before the school starts and do a gas check on all the systems to make sure they're safe before they go in. So appreciate you adopting that, and a lot of municipals have too. So.
Well, you did all the hard work on the front end there, so. For those watching at home or in the audience, schools have unique, and the commissioners have probably heard this 1,000 times, but schools have unique challenges just because of their infrastructure and how they're made up. They have a extensive natural gas piping system compared to other customers, which presents unique safety challenges. As Chad spoke earlier, we do routine surveys of our system, and when conducting these routine surveys, our AMLD units in the Jackson area detected issues at 3 to 4 schools on the customer side of the meter. So during spring break, we surveyed all 65 schools within the JPS area and found customer piping issues with at least 20% of them. So in line with our safety policies, we turned off their service to the affected schools until repairs were completed. But this just kind of let us know that this was a pervasive issue that we needed to address. So we aim to introduce legislation requiring annual inspections of these piping systems in Mississippi. And this would enable all the gas companies to incorporate these safety measures into existing energy delivery programs that service their territories and also help promote energy efficiency within those schools. And I believe Atmos serves over 1,000 schools, so implementing this program could enhance the safety for thousands of Mississippi and thousands of schools. All right, natural gas safety for first responders. So this is speaking to sort of the customer outreach portion I was speaking of earlier. We conduct natural gas safety workshops for city officials, fire departments, police, and other first responders to provide valuable natural gas safety training for an emergency response. over the past 2 years, we've hosted 19 workshops, attended 1,679 emergency first responders, attended by 1,679 emergency first responders from across Mississippi. A prime example of this is the first responder lunch we had at the Capitol, attended by Atmos and our legislators and first responders from all across the state a couple weeks ago, I believe. Partnership between first responders, as Jay from Centerpoint spoke to, and Atmos, well, not Atmos, but partnership between first responders is crucial in our opinion, as first responders are often the first people on the scene. And this is just an example of some of the slides we have at the Lunch and Learn. This is our fun little Rosie here, Rosie the skunk. Smell gas, act fast. Natural gas in its original form has no smell or color. That's why we add the distinctive rotten egg or skunk-like odor to make you aware if gas is leaking. And again, this is something that you all know and that we reiterated 1,000 times. I probably hear it every day. But when you do these Lunch and Learns, a lot of times it's those individuals' first time hearing it. And again, third-party pipeline damage, the number one cause of damage here. I think Stefan's going to speak to that a little bit in a little bit more detail a little bit later with the 811 crew, so I won't touch too much on it. But that's it.
You got Gus and Rosie.
Gus and Rosie.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
I just want to say thank you for the presentation so far. I have to leave and go to Meridian. We have a project we're working on with Mississippi Power and another data center project, the groundbreaking in a couple of hours. So I'll duck out of here in a little bit, but I'll be tuning in via YouTube.
Davis, thank you, and thanks for the team at Atmos for the presentation. Commissioner Stamps, drive safely. Thank you. Last one before, well, no, might get a couple of them. Okay, we'll move right along. Next is Spire Energy, in the maintenance department, maintenance division.
Good morning, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to speak today and be a part of this. I think what you're going to see,
Their
I
hand,
don't see.
look for the
There
handheld,
it is.
the clicker, there it is.
You're going to see a lot of crossover from the emergency response stuff to the operation stuff to maintenance. And when we think about maintenance, we think about everything from the transfer of custody from the pipeline to our custody, and then the transfer of custody to the customer. We don't think our responsibility ends at that transfer. Because of course we work with our customers, we do inside leak detections and all those things that's already been talked about. But that is all a part of maintenance. I'm Johnny Martin, Spire, Mississippi. I wanted to get the center point on his first slide of the territories and carve my little area in there. We serve okay. I'm a preacher, so if this makes me start going, y'all know what happens. So, we serve a little over 18,000, about 18,400 customers in Mississippi. We started at Camp Shelby, and if you go up to 49 corridor with Hattiesburg and the little towns up to 49 corridor, those are our customers. We stop right there. We have Pineywood School, and then we got Pearl proper. And I think all the big three, as Mr. Ricky called us, can claim some of Pearl. So that's who we are and where we serve. I often say that in Mississippi, we're the baby. We're the baby sister amongst the big three. And in the Spire orbit, we are also the baby sister. And I've been corrected on that, and I said, don't worry about that, because everybody takes care of the baby sister, right? So as we think about maintenance, there's a few things that are, of course, I'm going to call routine or regularly scheduled maintenance. Maybe I am. All right. One is the patrolling aspect, and that's literally where we get out and we go and we visit sites and ride by them. The schedule is 4.5 months or 7.5 months per the criteria, but we do all of ours at 4.5 months, just make sure we cover all of them. And it takes into account any exposed piping on bridges or whatnot, pipe that is subject to dynamic loads, highways, railroads, that kind of thing. So that patrolling takes care of that. And then it's been talked about extensively, and I'm not going to do a lot with it, but leak surveying is a part of regular maintenance, and we obviously do that too. We have not yet started with the new technology. We will, in about 2 weeks, we will have one of those cars on our system, and we will be implementing that over the next year. And we won't get all of this year's scheduled leak surveying done with it, but it will grow as we move forward. So along with that, as maintenance goes, with leak surveys comes leak repair. And as you've heard, we have 3 levels of leak repair. We have level 1 or A, which has to be repaired right now. Once that leak is detected, there's somebody on the scene until that leak is secured. And then there's level 2, which has to be repaired in 6 months, and level 3 has to be revisited every 6 months. At Spire, Mississippi, we don't do the revisiting. We treat level 3s like level 2. And we have a leaks per 1,000 for the past 2 years. We have a leaks per 1,000. Open leaks at the end of the month is 0 every month for the past 2 years. And part of it's because we do treat those 3s like 2. We don't leave them out there open. Part of maintenance is retiring or abandoning facilities, which does a few things. It reduces the opportunity for leaks and damages. It also reduces our tax burden, of course, if we remove that out of the property. And we have a robust system with that. Earlier, we talked about cast iron. Spire, Mississippi has never had any cast iron. We do have a lot of bare steel, though. And we have a robust program to replace that bare steel for that purpose, which gets into corrosion control and testing. I'll catch up with myself in a minute. Corrosion control is, when you think about corrosion control, you think about underground corrosion control and atmospheric corrosion control. There's a regular schedule for both. I mentioned the patrolling a minute ago. That's kind of part of that, but underground corrosion control is pipe to soil readings and rectifier readings, and anywhere we have bonds with other facilities like pipelines or a customer or whatever. And they're set up on a regular schedule. Pipe to soils every 12 months, not to exceed 15. Rectifiers are every 2.5 months. And so they are tested, make sure they're working, make sure they're producing. And then the pipe to soil tells what potential is on the pipe. Above ground, corrosion control is, we're looking at atmospheric corrosion systems, and that's done every 3 years. Every meter, every above ground facility is looked at every 3 years. We're actually on a 2-year cycle for that one instead, but by the rules, it's every 3 years. And also in leak surveying, as they are leak surveying, they are also doing atmospheric surveying. That is creating we've talked to some of our industry partners about that. When we start using the cars or vehicles to do this, now we're not putting eyes on every meter every month or every year. We just want the automatic meter reading. And so now we had at one time had eyes on every meter every month. So we're having to adjust our schedules and all to make sure that we're getting out there and maintaining the system by looking at that and getting some information from that. Regular scheduled maintenance also takes in regulator station inspections, again, from the take point regular station all the way down to any internal system stations, anything there all the way to the delivery to the customer. And some of the larger meters, larger customers have a more in-depth regulator system, meter system that they also go through. And so we take in the regular inspection and maintenance of them. Have a yearly deal. When they go out to these, they do a few things. They exercise the valves that are there. They exercise the regulators that are there. And if there's more than one regulator, and if it's a primary, secondary, we'll change them, make opposite, so that we're exercising and running them well. And they are inspecting relief valves, make sure they're working correctly and set up right. And changing boots or whatever they do too. Damage prevention. I said there's a lot of crossover for all of us, and this is always one that is always on our minds. It does seem to be the greatest exposure we have at the moment to our system, as been mentioned. Last year we had a damage rate of 2.3 damages per thousand, which was a little below the average that Ricky shown. And I want to contribute that to a few things. Mississippi 811 is a great partner. And I was mentioning earlier, I started in this industry in the early 80s. So I remember the kind of inception of Mississippi, of the 811 one-call system. And I know I don't look that old, but I was there. And I have seen through the years those damages coming down, getting better. Not only that to our facilities, but when we damage other people, that has gotten better and better through the years. And so they're certainly good partners. We use a third-party vendor to do our locating, and those contracts and all with them have gotten much and much better over the years, kind of bring them into where they have a high stake in what goes on. And so they're better at locating and doing that. Part of us is diligence of our employees. We at Aspire Mississippi, at Aspire in general, for our annual salary treatment, this is one of the things that's in there. So that every employee has some buy-in to make sure if you're out there and you see someone digging and you don't see Mark, stop, say something, contact somebody that can do something. And so we try to get buy-in on all that. And then that robust program of retiring lines, especially service lines. This doesn't have gas on it, it can't be damaged. So we'll remove it. Along with regular maintenance, there is the emergency maintenance that we look at and try to deal with. The Class 1 leak repair courses immediately. Again, someone's on the scene until that is mitigated. We have our odor response. It's already been mentioned. We see that as not only emergency, but also as part of our daily life. Again, having buy-in from every employee. It is part of our salary treatment also. And our average response time in Mississippi this month was, in December, was 23.5 minutes. And our average since October of the fiscal year has been 21.7 minutes. Our average response. Regular service, regular maintenance also takes in reinstating service lines that have been damaged or taken out of service for some reason. These things, they are treated as a new service line for the purpose of pressure testing and all, from the place where we lost pressure from the line to the meter to the customer valve. And so they are tested and put back in service. The same MAOP for regular system is tested at that point and before it is put back in service. Also, as part of Regular maintenance is repair. And as always, again, not to go rehash that over again, but same principles that we saw earlier with cruise response. There's safety on the site. As I mentioned that about safety, I also live in our system, and I know as Atlas mentioned a minute ago with the change of name, we've gone through 3 buyouts, and it's been interesting. I get asked all the time, we were owned by a single family at one time, and then I ask all the time how it is being a much larger company. And what I can tell you is we're much safer. We have a lot more resources than we did. We are a small footprint in Mississippi, but when you take in a large portion of Missouri, a large portion of Alabama, we're part of a large network and have a lot of resources that way. But having said that, I live here. I've been employed with Wilmington Fire for 27 years. My family lives here in this state. So I have a vested interest to make sure we're maintained well and that we're delivering a good product. I have a meter on my house also. Any questions?
Where, just for clarification, where's the service area?
Okay, we start off, we have Camp Shelby. And if you go up the 49 corridor, all the little towns up 49, and then we get to Delo, we jump, we have Piney Woods, and then Pearl proper, this is the immediate city of Pearl, mostly out in a little bit in Rankin County also, but that's outside of the a little over 18,000 customers on the list stuff out.
I thought of a question earlier and I didn't ask it to the other gas companies. When we have a natural disaster, being from the coast, you have, tropical storms, hurricanes. When everybody's pulling their trash out to the road, does the companies go out and survey the areas and say, hey, you got trash around our meter? Because I've seen some of those operators that come in, they just reach and grab. All they're trying to do is get tonnage in the truck to get paid. So they're not focusing on safety. So does the companies go out and survey the area and say, hey, we have a problem here, to notify the people that are in charge and say, hey, we got a gas meter here. Someone needs to go in there and hand clean that out. Is that something that is in y'all's protocol to do after a storm, whether it be on the coast or a tornado, whatever?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, we lost more customers due to that than we did in Katrina than we did to the actual storm. We lost more. They would pile it up, especially if you have a meter that's on the right of way. And the trucks come by and do that. So yes, we actually had more damages that way than we did the storm itself with Katrina. Now, of course, we're 90 miles inland, so it's not quite as bad as on the coast before. But yes, anytime we have an event that is that traumatic to the area, to the soil, to everything, we survey that area.
And the other question is, we had a winter storm on the coast, and y'all didn't have the pleasure of having that. And we're not quite used to that.
We deal with it all the time, brother. No.
We don't.
But so your providers that are providing gas to y'all system, do y'all follow up with them? And is there communication back and forth to make sure their pumping station have electricity, have backup to where your customer is not affected by it? Because we could have, like the storm that was in Texas when everything froze up. Did that affect y'all?
Yes, absolutely, and everybody can chime in with this because I know. So, just in a broad sense, the way gas works is we buy from a storage somewhere, and then we pay the pipeline to bring it to us, to transport it to us. We take from them and transport to the customer, right? And that gas is bought, July, August for this month, or so. And so if we start putting hard on it, Atmos and CenterPoint are putting hard on it, the municipals are putting hard on it. So yes, we obviously work with our suppliers ahead of time, and we make sure that they've got the capacity that we're going to need. And then, of course, internally, we're working, as already been mentioned, to make sure we're ready for the event. And it is a tight moment when we have a system like we had come through last week. And I think we can, all of us kind of like, those in North Mississippi, not so much. North of the Mason-Dixon line, which is probably 20.
That's right. Anything south of 82 is the coast to us.
Again, thank you guys. Look forward to a long working relationship with all that.
Thank you for your presentation. Appreciate it. And as a preacher, you did good. You didn't run over it all.
Chain too many rabbits or anything.
That's right.
Can do that.
Thank you for your presentation. Moving right along, one more before lunch is the Mississippi Fire Marshal. Good to see you again. Thanks for coming. Appreciate your participating.
Good morning. I want to thank you all for having us here again. It's a great privilege and feels like we are making progress. So
This is kind of the same but different.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very warm welcome. A lot of stuff that I will go over is stuff that we went over last time. I understood that we were having a natural gas summit. So I think there may be different folks here, but there are some questions that we'll try to answer and hopefully get a better understanding of where we stand at on natural gas. So what I do is go back and as I plan a presentation like this, it made me think back many years ago, especially when I was a kid, and I used to ride around on my bicycle.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Scotty Cuevas.
Thanks, Scotty.
The executive director for the LC Gas Division of the State Fire Marshal's Office. We fall up under the Mississippi Insurance Department, Commissioner Mike Cheney. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thought I did that. But anyway, I can remember back as a kid, me riding my bike around my yard, delivering propane to each stop they had. And I don't know what amazed me so much about that, but it was, I guess, the driver with the meter running and him having an unlit cigar in his mouth or whatever, but it just amazed me. But in 1986, I ventured off and got my first job in the propane gas. My office was a 1978 Ford 700 double barrel gas truck. Anybody knows anything about the 1978s, there was no air brakes and them was hydraulic brakes. So that means when you backed up to a stop, you better jump out, run, put your shock blocks behind before your truck starts rolling. Shocks was bad, so you go down the road bouncing, whatnot else. My commercial driver's license at the time cost about $13. Today, we're probably up in the average of about $400 to $600 per time that we have to get our all our P's and Q's are met with DOT and other stuff. My primary job at the time was soliciting new accounts, receivables, and making sure that I would give my customers a great service. My test to get this job at that time, there was no real hands-on training. They would put you in a truck with a person with about somewhere around 20 to 30 years experience. You'd ride a couple weeks, him showing you the ins and outs, and they put you, once you passed and he felt you was comfortable, he put you on a truck and you should go to work. Since then, I have been in this industry for, I think, 39 years, working on 40 coming up. I have owned my own propane gas company. I was elected 12 years to the Mississippi State Senate. I was then hired by the Mississippi State Fire Marshal's Office as an LC gas inspector. Then I moved up to a director. So what I've just told you is I know a little bit about a whole lot, but I don't know a whole lot about one certain thing. So on behalf of the Mississippi Fire Marshal's Office, I do want to thank the Public Service Commission for giving us this opportunity to share our visions and answer any questions that may arise, especially dealing with natural gas and our authority. The LC Gas is made up of 7 districts. Each district is covering about 11 counties. This makes it real tough. We do have a board of directors, which is appointed by Commissioner Mike Cheney. I think there's 7 board of directors that sits on the board. The mission of the liquid compressed gas, and this is very important because this was a question that was asked, what dealings do we have with natural gas? There's some discrepancy, but the mission of the Liquid Compressed Gas Board is to enforce the laws and regulations regarding the manufacturing of liquid compressed gases located within Mississippi. The LC Gas is responsible for all domestic, commercial, and industrial premises or buildings where liquid compressed gases may be received, stored, transported, sold, offered, or exposed for sale, manufactured, refined, distilled, compounded, or blended, as well as liquefied compressed gas containers, systems, pumps, equipment, tank cars, storage tanks, and other vehicles in which the liquid compressed gas is stored will be subject to regular inspections under our program. This is where the question comes in. Under the Mississippi Code 75575, it defines natural gas and compressed natural gas as a meaning any gaseous mixtures containing primarily methane gas. Liquid compressed gas is defined as a meaning both liquid petroleum gases and anhydrous ammonia when used in commercial fertilizer. Liquid petroleum gas means any materials having a vapor pressure not exceeding that allowed for commercial propane composed predominantly of the following hydrocarbons, either by themselves or the mixture of propane, propylene, butane, or methylene. So per code, we do have some dealings with the compressed natural gas, such as having to be notified when there is a substantial work on a compressed gas natural gas system or with compressed natural gas corporation system. However, there is no permitting required in the statute under us for those activities. And it's just a notification requirement. Two, our statute limits the LC board permitting requirements to liquid compressed gas, which is based on definitions and does not include methane-based natural gas. Number three, in the event that we are dealing with a blended gas, propane and methane, then we would have referred to the definition portions of the statute apply the fact to determine whether it is under our jurisdictions or not. It may boil down to the pressures involved. However, most likely it contains liquid petroleum gas as part of the blend. It probably does fall under us. Our commission adopted NFPA 54 and 58 with some Mississippi rules regulate industry. Now, I do see natural gas starting to come into 54, 58. I don't see a lot of it pop up around in that section. The Mississippi board adopted these versions immediately when we receive them. So this means that about every 3 years we are changing books. And just to give you for an example, our neighboring states, I think Louisiana is probably in 2010, and Alabama may be 2017. I'm not sure if we're in 2024. It does make a demand on us because just about time you get used to this law is done changed on us. So I want to thank our LC Gas Board being very supportive of us in funding different projects, helping us out. The commissioner came across a 53-foot trailer. Our board supported us to equip this trailer so we can go around. Matter of fact, ended up buying us a Mack truck to pull it. We're able to go to, we have 194 dealers. We're able to go out and do hands-on training directly with the dealers themselves. Last time I spoke, I told you guys that we was working with the natural gas staff and State Fire Academy. And it's just happened luck. That's why I was running late. Today was our first day training out at Safety City. We've got 20 new people that came into the system. And so we're excited to say that our deal did work out with the natural gas facility people, their staff, and the Fire Academy. So we are very excited about that. Just to give you kind of a rundown of what we do is in the propane gas. Last year, we received 9,300 new inspections. And I told you before, we are still shorthanded. We're very shorthanded. We was able to do about 2,700 of them inspections. About 30 of these were schools, let me say something. Yes. Well, I'll give you that. Then we had we also was gifted to do about 461 special projects for things such as a state fair and other events using propane gas. Then we had about 108 cylinder cages that we are required. We do have 456 buck plants scattered around our state. We have over 474 propane gas trucks operating. Have 152 schools that are using propane gas, and I think I understand that there may be a bill in the legislature this year for all natural gas schools to be tested once a year. We do that ourselves. We have 456 dispensing stations. So if you tally everything up that we are doing, we had about 4,200 inspections for 2024. We have about 194 branches we visit once a month. We issued 51 new companies coming into our industry this year. We tested over 125 new employees. We are required to keep in compliance of 1,200 employees, but we did do the 125. With all our training classes and everything we did with old people and new, we done approximately 400 people this past year of running them through our classes. The LC Gas Board was in full support of turning all these facilities to make sure that we have the proper education and get the right message out to our folks and try to keep our accident rates as low as we can. We are very fortunate. I think last year we had 2, maybe 3 in the entire state for the year. We're also working with other agencies, just like the good board here. Our commissioners has been very, very generous to us, and we appreciate it. Also, the Board of Contractors, State Fire Marshal's Office, and also your propane gas industry working with us on, especially assisting us to make sure each time we do this, it's doing nothing but making our job easier and more safer. Trying to run through some of this. Our propane industry is highly regulated, works closely with policymakers on the state level to make sure to ensure that our safety reliability of propane gas service is maintained. In addition, under our debate at the state level, we can have a national effect on propane industry and its customers. MPGA coordinates with the State Propane Gas Association to ensure the adequate time information is available regarding industry operations. Mississippi has an excellent propane gas association led by Mr. Philip Shamley and his crew. Mr. Philip keeps the industry entirely informed on all issues coming up through the legislature or through the federal government that may be making changes to our industry. I hope this gives you some kind of insight. I hope I was able to answer. I know when me and the young lady was talking the other day, when we was talking, what do you cover in natural gas? And we really don't know. We need to look. And I had our attorney kind of look up some stuff. And he said it needs to be looked in a little bit more, but it's just so vague. So, but I hope this opened up the door and let people know at least where we, what our industry is based on and what we have. Any questions?
You've done a thorough job once again, Mr. Cuevas. I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming and participating in what you do for the safety of our state. Commissioner Carr, any questions?
Yeah. We all have an involvement. Our phone rings. If it doesn't involve us, we find out who it involves. And so we do that a lot with the commission and our staff. So if we can ever assist you in any way, please let us know.
We appreciate it, and I'm going to tell you, you have an excellent staff, and they keep us informed, and we've enjoyed working with y'all. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and it is a joint effort, so we're all on the same team to try to make sure that the ratepayers and the people in Mississippi get the service they need and deserve.
Well, same here. If we can do anything for you, please do not hesitate to call.
Thank you, appreciate it. Tell Commissioner we said hello and thank you. Okay, with that, we are going to break for lunch. So, after lunch, we'll have Mississippi 811, Mississippi Natural Gas Association, Mississippi Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Board, and closing remarks. So, with that, we'll stand in recess until after lunch. We'll be back at 1 o'clock. Right back into it. We're down to Mississippi 811. Call before you dig. Don't dig before you call. Call before you dig. Well, it was a pun. It was a pun because we're digging. But you're next up. Appreciate you coming.
I'm the next guy. For those who don't know, I'm Fred Johnson. I'm president of Mississippi 811, and commissioners, I consider it an honor and a privilege to be here. Appreciate y'all inviting us to be here as part of this program. Just give you current news first, and then I'm going to back up a little bit. I am the present president, but I'm retiring before Ricky. I'm going to get out on March the 1st. And Mr. Mike Morgan has been named becoming president. Mike sends his regrets, but he had a previous engagement. That's the reason he's not here. I did bring another new person with me this morning, Mr. Cole Fessmeyer. Cole has just started as our new operations supervisor and comes to us after 20 years of experience with the City of Olive Branch with the public works there, and has served in a supervisory capacity there. And he's also a past president of the Mississippi Natural Gas Association. So he's bringing a wealth of knowledge with him, and we're just really excited about having him come on board. Just to give you a little information about Mississippi 811, we are a nonprofit corporation. We get accused of being a state agency a lot, but that's not the case. We have a board of directors. There's 8 members on that board, and each one of them comes from a different stakeholder group of our membership. Those would be municipal utilities, cable TV, the natural gas distribution, natural gas transmission, liquid pipelines, rural water association, communications, and electric power. So you can see our board is weighted gas pretty much. So we're very involved with the natural gas operations across the state. And we serve mainly to help with the public knowledge, public awareness part of the goals that they have, as well as the damage prevention to their underground facilities. Of course, we represent all underground utility companies. So we're proud to be here. Just another note while I got it on my mind, Commissioner Carr mentioned earlier about the situation where you have a natural disaster and you've got all that debris piled up and whatever. That became a concern of ours several years ago, and so we started a program. We got 5 guys that work out in the field, and anytime there is a natural disaster that involves trees falling down and that kind of thing, whether it be a hurricane or tornado or what, these guys will go out, and we've had signs designed to remind the people that are cleaning up that, you know, we've already had one disaster, don't make another one by piling your debris on top of like a gas meter or something like that. And then also those guys that come around with them clamshells, you know, they can dig pretty deep with those and do a lot of damage. So we're very aware of that, and we try to help people understand that is an issue. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history of Mississippi 811, if you'll bear with me, because the beginning started here, actually. Sam Johnson, my brother, was the first president. At the time, back in the early eighties, he was, working for the Public Service Commission as a pipeline safety inspector. And, let's see, Commissioner Bo Robinson was the commissioner that hired him. And so, Ricky mentioned a while ago about, these guys going over to Oklahoma City for their training. Well, that was true back 40 some odd years ago as well. And so Sam, in going to some of these trainings, came back with a wealth of knowledge, and not just the inspection part, but he picked up on this program going around called One Call System. And Oklahoma already had one. He got to actually go and tour their facility and see what they were doing. And he thought, you know, we need that in Mississippi. And so he came back and talked with the commissioner, and he agreed that he would let him call for a meeting. And so he did. He just sent out a notice to all utilities, not just the gas, but others as well. And I think they were about 40 different utility companies represented at that meeting. One that I'll mention is Mississippi Valley Natural Gas, which was bought out by Atmos through the years later, but they were one of the original ones at that meeting. But anyway, started with 40 utility companies. It grew through the years to around just over 500 as of about 2008. That was the number. And it was just a volunteer thing. That there was that many utility companies that saw and understood the importance of what we were doing and thought it was good to be a part of it. And then in 2009, 10, we got the law passed to make it mandatory for all utility companies to be a member. And so that with that, our numbers doubled. We're at 1,054 now. That's been pretty constant for the last several years. It kind of fluctuates a little as different utilities buy out other utilities and that type of thing. So anyway, through the years, that's what we've been doing. We basically we take calls or notices from excavators, and we take that information and then put that out to the member utilities that are affected by the excavation. And that kind of puts us in the middle of the damage prevention efforts. We do work quite closely with a lot of the gas companies, and they work very well with us as well. So a lot more I won't tell you. Can't think of what it is. I don't know. What else would y'all like to know about Mississippi 811? We've been around a while.
Appreciate what you're doing. We work hand in glove with your representative in North Mississippi, and glad to be a resource to y'all as y'all are a resource to us. So, Commissioner Carr, you have any questions?
Do you work hand in hand? Do you work hand in hand with MEMA and those disasters like that? They communicating back and forth?
We don't really get that involved in their type of work. We just separately go out and put the signs up, try to stay out of their way. But
Okay.
they're the ones that we're trying to remind, hey, your contractor's coming in. We need them to be careful about where they're digging or where they're grabbing the trash and whatever.
Yeah.
I did have one more thing I was going to tell you. Rachel asked me to bring some statistics to you. So I do have the.
She put you to work.
She did.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, she's the one that got me here. I appreciate her. She's a ball of fire.
We know the feeling.
Yeah, I know you do. But I don't want to bore you with a lot of numbers, but by the end of the year 24, we had, received 3,461,070 locate requests that we take in our little call center. We got the smallest one call center in the country. And as a result of that, we send out 16,794,868 notices. Now, a lot of those are like multiple notices going maybe to one company, but they want 3 or 4 individuals in the company to receive that. So that's just something we do for them as they ask for it. But that's a lot of calls, not of course all calls. We've kept up with the technology through the years, and actually about 60% of our incoming requests are coming in over the internet through our portal or our phone app would be one way. Unfortunately, right now, the phone app's fixing to go away. Couldn't get support for it, but hopefully we will be bringing it back as soon as we can.
Quick question.
Okay.
I was in district meeting with some mayors, and one of the municipal water districts, they don't know where all their water lines are. And so fiber company was coming through and putting fiber in the ground. Of course, they called 811, but obviously there was no record of where the water lines were, but they were tearing up the water lines. So that's probably maybe out of your wheelhouse, but when someone calls and they notify, and y'all notify them, locate the lines, and they're damaged anyway, who's responsible for the damage?
Well, it depends on, there's 2 sides to responsibility there. The utility company itself has the responsibility of going out and marking their facilities. And so under that kind of a scenario where there's not, they haven't got tracer wire or something to help them to locate those plastic lines, they're actually allowed an extra day to be able to go out after all the other utilities have marked their lines, so they can do some excavation or whatever it takes to uncover it. But if they, after the allotted 3 working days or 4 working days in that scenario, if they haven't located, then if they get damaged, it pretty much be their responsibility for not marking. Of course, that probably have to be fought out in court or something if it came to that, but that's the way that the law is written. You'd also find out, like those people you talked with, probably they were concerned about it, and a lot of times, they won't go ahead and dig, even though by law they can. They try to get some way to get it located.
In this instance, it was subcontractors, and they supervisors told them where to go, and they didn't anyway. They just went where they wanted to and tore up a bunch of stuff, but they blamed it that nobody marked the lines.
Yeah.
And so supervisors said they think it's here. Stay away from there. When they dug, they went right where they told them to stay away from. So anyway, just kind of an interesting real world scenario. Yeah.
So when your technician goes out and he does a locate, so from my experience, when I call, y'all tell us who's in the area.
Right.
And then, but when your technician goes out and he locates, what if he finds another, is it updated if he finds another person in that area, another utility company? Is y'all's system updated at that point?
More assets in the ground?
Yes.
Okay, that's kind of a multifaceted question. First of all, we don't send anybody out. We send a notice to the utility companies that are in that area. They send their people out to do the marking. If they get out there and you're saying it, they find additional assets there, they would have the responsibility to mark them as they find them, if it's their assets. And then 2, sometimes there are, it just depends on where the excavator goes. There may be lines that somehow don't get marked for some reason. Well, there's a responsibility for that excavator. If he sees evidence of that, he's supposed to stop and call and give them 2 hours to get out there and mark those assets before he continues to dig.
Mhm. Okay,
Any questions?
I understand.
Anything?
Any other questions?
I know to call.
Yeah, that's right.
811, phone number.
That's an easy number to remember.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for your presentation. Thank you for coming and participating, and congratulations on your retirement.
Well, thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Appreciate your service.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Maybe Ricky go fishing again.
Well, he gets to go fishing 30 days before Ricky does. Okay, we'll move right into the next one. Thanks again to Mississippi 811. We're going to Mississippi Natural Gas Association. You're recognized. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for coming.
You'll take just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Sherelle Grogan. I'm with the Mississippi Natural Gas Association. I've been with them since December of 1992. And in that time, I'm jealous because Ricky's leaving me and Sam, Fred's leaving me. But I'm not ready. I'm younger than I look.
So you don't plan to go fishing with them?
I can go fish. They know I'll go fishing now. I'll take the day off to spend with my friend. Look, I'd like to start off by thanking y'all for having us here, for your effort and your thoughtfulness today. I think it's very important in all sectors of our life for people just to sit down and talk. Just sit down and talk. I think I don't think that sometimes I know what you do, you don't know what I do, and I think it's important a lot of time if you sit down and talk to somebody and they hear your side and you hear their side, I feel like you can really come to an agreement, some sort of agreement that helps everybody. I also believe you can learn by just sharing. I've learned more some of the time around a table eating or around the coffee pot, learning something that someone else does that puts someone in your path that would help you network. I just feel like you don't always need to reinvent the wheel. Some of the time, if you will just perfect tried and true practices, that's all you need. I appreciate the responsibility each of you have to your constituents and that you need for them to be taken care of and that their safety is of the utmost paramount importance. That's the same way for the people that have been speaking here today. The people from Centerpoint and Spire and Atmos and 811 and the Fire Academy. These people care about their industry. And they try to get together with as many people as they can, stakeholders, for them to try to share information and to learn along the way. I know all day everybody here has talked about natural gas, and I don't know how much I can add, but I'd like to. Seeing as natural gas is an essential part of America's energy sector and economy because it delivers affordable and reliable energy to millions of Americans every day. For nearly 3 decades, natural gas has helped make America's energy cleaner and more environmentally friendly. The single largest factor in power sector emissions over the last 27 years is the overall switch in electricity generation from coal to natural gas. Swapping one for the other yields a 53% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. And boy, is it reliable. Just in the last few weeks, we've experienced extreme cold and winter storms, and natural gas has been key to keeping people safely and affordably warm. Typically, the colder it is, the more gas is required, and natural gas demand reached record highs on multiple days just last week. we have an advantage that all of our utility systems are underground. So the hurricanes and the ice storms, although they do affect us, it's not like we have trees down and we've lost electricity. Our infrastructure being underground, it's able to deliver. And it's able to deliver 3 times as much energy on the coldest day of the year, largely. Also, fueled by natural gas, electrical distribution systems deliver on the hottest day. And this is just because of our unique ability to store our energy. With all the attempts coming from other states to limit natural gas, you'd think it's some scary new item, but it's not. Actually, natural gas was first used in the United States in 1816. I love a fun fact. I'll share quite a few with you today. Natural gas, it illuminated the streets of Baltimore in 1816. You ever heard of Rembrandt Peale? He was the first artist, and he used natural gas in a lighting, like a candle, and that was the first natural gas used. And so Baltimore, actually, they were the ones that started it. In 2021, 200 years of natural gas production in the United States was celebrated. It began in 1821, and by 1900, it had been discovered in 17 states. But today, it's used extensively in residential, commercial, and industrial application, and is the main source of fuel used for most home heating. Just the United States has 2.6 million miles of pipeline across the United States. We have 2.6 million miles of pipeline in the United States. Now, let me tell you about my Mississippi. Sorry, I'm getting behind on my slide. Natural gas generates 74% of Mississippi's electricity. These photos you'll see here, these are guys that work for they're in my association. Some are from different municipalities. And I asked them to send me some pictures of some of the work that they do so I could see it. I'm so glad to see, actually, they're working in the dirt. They're not doing paperwork. Yeah. They're actually working. But you'll see the breakdown for customers in Mississippi. You can see we have 430,000 residential, 47,000 commercials, 841 industrial, and 29 electric utilities. We use 549 billion cubic feet of natural gas each year in Mississippi. When I saw that Commissioner Stamps say that he wanted to get the word out on job possibilities in the utility workspace, I was very excited. As someone who's been in this industry for over 30 years, I see what is sadly happening that we've already talked on today. So many people are beginning to retire. And when you do get young people in these jobs, you just can't get them to stay long. It's a commitment. But there is good news. The natural gas industry does support thousands of people from Mississippi with stable and good paying jobs. Currently, there are over 27,000 people in Mississippi working in the natural gas sector. There'll be a project added really soon, the Mississippi Crossing Project. That's a pipeline project that's planned to be developed to address demand and distribution in the southeast region, especially for Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. This project will begin near Greenville, Mississippi, and conclude near Butler, Alabama. It'll pass through Humphreys, Sunflower, Washington, Attala, Holmes, Clark, Leake, Newton, Lauderdale, and Neshoba counties in Mississippi, and Choctaw County in Alabama. At the Mississippi Natural Gas, we've been dedicated to bringing people together who work in the natural gas industry. We provide hands-on training, seminars, trade shows, and conferences that offer a wealth of knowledge to those in the natural gas industry. We were organized in 1978 to promote the development of the Mississippi natural gas industry. Our membership is composed of gas utility companies and gas utilities owned and operated by municipalities, counties, special districts, as well as individuals, firms, and companies engaged in the manufacture, fabrication, sale, or distribution of gas appliances or equipment in Mississippi. Many of our municipal gas operators are also water operators or wastewater operators as well. Some of these small systems are so small, they may only have one employee working for them running all of those utilities. So we just feel like these people have so many responsibilities on their plate and that we could help them understand the latest rules and regulations and help them stay on top of these important things. Starting next month, MNGA will kick off our 2025 by having a trade show. We'll have over 180 operators participate, and we'll also have vendors. One of the things that MNGA, we believe, as you can see, everybody knew each other here today just about. Somehow, some way, we all know each other, and it's through our networking, idea sharing, and training. Another benefit of being a member of the Mississippi Natural Gas Association is that, I want y'all to see, isn't that neat? That's a man working right there. I know you'll be opening us up, I do believe, next month at the trade show. We're excited to have you. We're going to have all kinds of events. You were talking about pipe earlier. There's a piece of pipe. They're showing you how you can fix that while it's in the ground. Now just imagine that being in the ground, but it's not. One of the things that we do at the Drug Testing Consortium is, well, the main thing we do is pipeline DOT drug and alcohol testing assistance. Many people aren't very familiar with it, but you may not be, but these people are. The stringent drug and alcohol rules and regulations these people have to follow. It's costly and it's time consuming. So we have a lot of operators that have one person, one covered employee, 3, 2. So this is a consortium. It's a third-party administrator that for a small fee you can join, and it helps you fulfill the requirements together. We have 72 municipal members and 24 company members. So what that means is those are munis. That may be Town of Tishomingo, Town of Duck Hill. A company member would be, Bob's Meter Supply, Bill's Construction, that type of thing. Our pool yesterday was 498 employees. Oops, that go backward. There we go. By the numbers, that tells you, on average, the pool size was 481, and you had 270 negative drug screens. 5 were positive. That's not a bad number out of that. And I'm going to tell you how it works. I believe that the reason that the positive numbers are so low is because of the enforcement. I've heard over the years people say, well, we're going to stop doing it because the numbers are so low. The numbers are low because you're doing it. Up until this year, 25, we started out testing at 50%. What that means is by the end of the year,
50% of that 481 needs to be tested to be in compliance. We'll do 50% for 2 years. At the end of the year, PIMSA requests your paperwork. They request your statistical data. If for 2 years consecutive, the nationwide positive rate stays below 1%, they'll random test at 25%. If it pops up, it's at 50. This year it's at 50%, meaning it'll have to be 50 next year. Hopefully we can get the positive number down. But I truly believe, because these 5 screens, 4 of them were actually pre-employment positives, and the THC is due to the legal marijuana. People are not grasping that just because it's legal in the state with the doctor's excuse, they think it's legal nation, and it's not. For PIMSA, it's not, and it won't be until marijuana is legal federally. So there you go. So we keep those people, try to keep them into compliance. It's also cost effective. One of the things I think that we've been battling is the reason I say so many people are wanting to ban natural gas. And as you can see, Governor Reeves signed into law the Freedom to Cook Act. And that means that the consumer freedom of choice, they have began about 5 years ago. I think New York, New York's still the only place that's banned new construction. Am I correct? I just noticed that a lot of states are now doing the same thing to get this enacted. I was told about 10 years ago that when this started happening, I was telling people, because I love to give you the little stuff.
Can you go back one slide? I
Yes.
want to make a comment on that.
Yes.
That's very unusual.
It is.
Usually there's telephone, fiber, electrical, everything in that ditch. So all I see is gas.
Is that in Olive Branch, Cole?
That's
That's not
unusual.
Olive Branch.
Yeah. But usually it's mass congestion.
It is. Like I say, even as somebody been in this industry for so long, I was glad to get these photographs to see what they actually do. As you'll see, boy, they really. I'd just like to touch on this. We actually have a scholarship program we've been doing for about 15 years, 16 years. We are able to give our operators' children scholarship money. It's paid directly to the college. We have a scholarship program that we give. Sometimes it may be 2 people, sometimes it may be 6 people. Depends on the fundraising and the amount. But I do know that our operators are so appreciative because $2,000 goes a long way toward books and tuition. I believe one of y'all will be joining us down the coast. I wanted to share a few more things with you. Just in getting ready for this event, I started going through things, and I remember about 10 years ago, I made a t-shirt, and I said I was going to put everything on that t-shirt that applied to natural gas. Are you ready? It's a long list. It's green, water heating. It's clean, it's abundant, safe, fuel for the future, grill, your fire pit, furnace, cooking, low emissions. It's smart, dries your clothes, long-term potential, jobs, reliable,
residential, it's industrial, standby generator, cars, trucks, SUV, renewable, efficient. And then when you figure out how many things that you can actually make from natural gas, I mean, it doesn't just heat your home, your business, or power your vehicle. It makes crayons, fertilizer, golf ball, water pipe, artificial limbs for amputees, medical supplies, guitar strings, safety glasses, dentures, toothbrush, toothpaste, fishing rods and reels, tents, insectants, fabrics. I was taken aback. I mean, I knew it made fertilizer and plastic, but I had no idea that it made the Dallas Cowboys cleats and helmets. I thank y'all again for having us here today, and I hope you've gained some sort of knowledge, something small, if anything. I am blessed enough to have grandkids. And every day, and I'm blessed enough to be able to pick them up some afternoons. And every day I ask them the same thing I asked my children 25 years ago. Tell me one thing you learned today. One thing. Doesn't matter what it is, just tell me one thing you learned today. And I think that's part of the big key that you can get is if you learn something every day, even about your own industry, I think that is very positive.
Very good job. I agree with that philosophy, actually. And that's kind of what motivated these summits is,
Well, I appreciate these. Like I say, after 35 years, this is the first one they've done.
wow, yeah. We were all three new, just some background. All three of us commissioners were new. And as people called into our office wondering who did what, that was the kind of the jumping off point of this is education's learning and education's power. Knowledge is power. And so
Amen.
that's the path we're on. So Commissioner Carr, you have any questions?
Yes, I can tell you that being from the construction industry, I have learned a lot. Not only what gas does, but what electricity does, and you think you know a lot till you get around people that's their focus in life, and that's what they care about. Their compassion, and I have seen it in all utility workers. And we are truly a blessed nation and a blessed state because we have good, hardworking people that really do want to work together. And the commission staff works together. We don't just stop at the Southern District. We go all the way up. They need help, we help. And that's what it's about. And that movement back and forth in this commission has helped me tremendously to see how we're all working together. And I am thankful that that's where we're at. And we're going to get better.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. We have a lot to learn and a lot to do for our great state. Thank you.
One thing that's interesting that you'll appreciate, and all the natural gas, LP gas folks. And obviously, we came through campaign season year before last, and so one of my campaign ads was, "I believe in all the above. I'm a gas user at home." So one of our commercials was the walking through the kitchen, I step on something, and it comes up. The camera pivots to the right in front of the stove. I have a little boy with his army men. And they're set up in a semicircle around the stove, and I asked him, "What's he's doing? What are you doing in the kitchen?" He said, "I'm defending our gas stove from the Biden administration." So we actually had a T-shirt that would kind of don't tread on me with the stove. We say that kind of jokingly, but it is a clean energy. It's plentiful. It's an American resource. We saw what happened when Germany lost their supply of natural gas. So your costs can get out of hand really, really fast. And just our natural gas energy production, you pointed that out. I think natural gas is over 80% efficient. It's on 80% of the time. Only thing better that we have in our arsenal is nuclear right now. It's 90 plus. So it goes nuclear, natural gas, then coal. So as we move forward, we appreciate all the above approach. And we know that keeping energy reliable, and affordable is the key to success in our state, not only in our state, but in our country, and to secure the future of our kids and grandkids. So we appreciate what y'all are doing to continue to supply the gas. Everybody here, obviously, continue to supply natural gas to us, and that literally keeps the lights on. So appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Moving right along, we'll go to Mississippi Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Board. I said moving right along, not down this time. That's right. Thanks for coming.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to hear the story of the good work that the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Board is doing. My name is Stefan Lehner. I'm the current chairman of the board. During the day, I work for Atmos Energy, and one day every 2 months, I'm the chairman of the board. So, I've been the chairman of the board starting my 3rd year. Been on the board for 4 years, but this will be my 3rd year as the chairman. So. Got a short agenda here. These are just a few of the topics I'm going to cover. Obviously, I'm going to talk a little bit about the board's history and how it was created. We're going to talk about who the members of the board are, what the executive committee of the board is, the enforcement process. This is the meat and potatoes of what the board does is the AVR process. This is where the alleged violation reports are for the board to make a recommendation and a ruling for the civil penalties of the violations. I'm going to share a few statistics primarily about some of the gas related statistics from some of the fines and penalties that we've done. I'm going to talk about the Underground Damage Prevention Fund. This is what the money collected from our fines, 100% of it goes to education and outreach. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we've done. And then going to talk a little bit about the annual PHMSA review. PHMSA actually reviews the progress made by the board, determines whether or not we are in compliance with them. So a little bit about the history of the board. Obviously, in 1985, the Mississippi legislature enacted the Mississippi Dig Law. Prior to that, there really was no law governing underground construction. In 2016, with a little bit of, maybe you want to call it a little nudging from PHMSA, the federal government, the Mississippi legislature adopted the enforcement legislation. January 1st, 2017 is when the Mississippi Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Board actually began enforcing the law. So what is the purpose of the board? The purpose is to enforce the dig laws. You know, the board doesn't make the laws. The sole purpose is to enforce the laws that are out there. We also manage the Underground Damage Prevention Fund. When I say we don't make the laws, that doesn't mean that we don't really have any impact in it. We do, from an enforcement standpoint, we do see maybe some tweaks that need to be made. We work hand in hand with the 811 and the damage the committees that kind of are the ones that come forward with law proposals. We work hand in hand with them to say, hey, these are some things that we need to do, whether it's tweaking some definitions, maybe it's adding some language to make some of the laws enforceable. So we do work hand in hand with them, but as a general rule, we do not create the laws, we just enforce them. There are 16 members of the board, 15 voting members. 3 of those are appointed by the governor, 4 are appointed by the lieutenant governor, and then there are 9 specific entities. And all of these are actually listed in the statute of who they are. So appointed by the governor, we have the telecommunications industry. That is Alan Jones with C Spire. Electric power industry, investor-owned utilities is Jason Farr with Mississippi Power down on the coast. The representative of the cable industry is Kenneth Goss, and he's with Comcast. A lot of these, you probably know these. They're in your community. They work with us hand in hand. Good people, and they're just very fortunate to work with all of them. Appointed by the lieutenant governor, is one representative from the excavation, utility, and/or site construction. That's currently Billy Blue Cleveland of Dynasty Construction. I believe he's over there near Meridian in Newton County. The EPAs of Mississippi, that's Michael Callahan. Natural gas transmission or liquid transmission industry is Guy Morgan of Kinder Morgan. And he wanted me to make sure to know that he is not related to the Kinder Morgan family, but it has the same name. Natural gas distribution industry, of course, that's myself, and I represent. Also, there are specific entities on the board. The president of Mississippi 811, that's currently Fred Johnson. A representative from the Mississippi Department of Transportation, that's Earl Glenn. Mississippi Association of Professional Surveyors, that's Joe Bird from Joe Bird and Associates. Mississippi Association of Supervisors, that's Robert Accardo from Pike County. The Mississippi Municipal League, that's Jermaine Thornton, he's the Public Works Director in Greenville. Mississippi Home Builders Association is Seth Hood. Mississippi Rural Water Association is Kirby Mayfield. The American Council of Engineering Companies, Mississippi area, and that's Terrell Temple. And finally, we have Mississippi Pipeline Safety Division, which is a non-voting member, and that's Miss Joyce Beal, and she's in the audience today. Also supporting the board, we have Attorney Sandy Sanford. I think I just saw him walk in to make sure I stay within the guardrails. We also have Roger Cox, the Executive Secretary, and he handles the heavy lifting for the board. Couldn't do anything without him. Lisa Stallings with Mississippi 811 is our secretary, and really they are the heartbeat of what we do every day. Inside the 15-member voting board is the executive committee. Again, it's a 5-member committee that is from the actual 15 members. And again, these are specifically detailed by the law who they can be. There's a maximum of a 2-year term at a time, and it rotates. And this group is the one who actually reviews all the AVRs and the data that comes in, and they are the ones that actually assess any civil penalties. That 5-person group. So let's talk about what is an AVR, because this is really what the board is really the focus of it. This is the system to report dig law violations. First of all, it must be a violation of the law. We do get a lot of complaints, but at the end of the day, we listen to them. But for us to act on it, any type of civil penalty, it must be a violation of the law. And you must be able to prove it. We recommend timestamp photos, witness statements, sketches. We just need something to substantiate that the law has been broken. So it's really easy to get to this online. You can go to Mississippi811.org, MississippiDamagePrevention.com website. You see the little section that says AVR, has a little red underlining it. It's a very simple process. Click on that. There are about 15 or 20 different questions. The locate ticket. You have the opportunity to upload information. The county, the ticket number, just all the different things. I'm not going to get into the details of going through that, obviously, but it's certainly out there for anybody to look at if they want to. So what happens once the AVR form is submitted? So it's submitted online. It has to be submitted within 60 days of the violation. If it comes to us at 61 days, it's set aside. We do not act on it. It has to be done within 60 days. As soon as we get the online AVR, the accused violator is notified and allowed to respond in 14 days. It's so important for the committee to see both sides of the story. Let's see what this is what's alleged, and now the accused violator has his opportunity to say, hey, no, this is what really happened. And sometimes it is a misunderstanding. Then the executive committee meets and they look at all that information, and then they determine whether or not a violation has occurred, and that's based on the evidence that's provided. It's not speculation. It's not, hey, this is what we think. We follow the evidence. So what are the violations, or what are the penalties for a violation? So the first offense let me just say violations are a rolling 5-year period, so this doesn't hang on somebody forever. But the first offense is paper training. What that simply is that you're getting a citation where you actually say, yes, I've violated the law. We send the statute, this is what you violated. Basically, you signing and saying, yes, I violated, it comes back to. That's the first offense. The second offense is online training. This is about an hour course that's taken online, and it's very good detailed information on the one-call laws and different things like that. And this is the second offense. The third offense is the civil penalty where we're getting into their pocketbooks. Traditionally, the third offense, we start at we start at $250, and then it starts going up every additional offense after that for that 5 years is another $250. I would add that to it. So the second is $500, $750, adds up to the maximum penalty currently is a $2,500 offense. Now there is a provision in the law if it's gross negligence. If somebody or some company is just running wild, destroying different facilities, the board does have the ability to fine them. I think that's been done a couple times. Usually after some dialogue and talking with them, that's not something that happens on a routine basis. Just a few notes on AVRs. There is an appeal process. As a matter of fact, right here in this very courtroom, Ms. Stephanie Taylor with the PSC is a hearing officer, and we have a process that they can come in and appeal it, and it's a very formal process. We're still tweaking that. It's a fairly new process. We haven't got all the bugs worked out of it yet, but it's certainly something that the goal is to get that more streamlined and more effective in the future. 24% are submitted with no documentation at all. That's really unfortunate because chances are a violation did occur, but if there's nothing to go on, we just can't take somebody's word. Hey, they did it. We need something. So that's why we really stress the documentation. And then 67% are submitted due to a damage. If you think about it, that makes sense because I know for us, you're going out there, every time there's a damage, you're going out there. A lot of times if someone is not following the law, you may not know about it if you're not out there with it. That's one area that we're really working with some of our outreach. Damage prevention is preventing the damage. So we really want to be more proactive and get companies, all utilities to be a little bit more, hey, let's stop some of the bad practices on the front end. Let's do true damage prevention and not, after the fact. So that's something we're certainly working on. Just a few statistics. In 2024, that's calendar year, there were 324 AVRs filed. That number's actually been trending down. That's another one of the areas that we're working with different outreach to, try to dig into. Why are they going down? I'd like to think it's because more people are following the law. So that's what we're going to hope. But they have been going down. It was 402 in 23, and it was higher than that in 22. But of those, 164 of them were filed by gas operators. That's almost 50%. So really proud of the gas companies. That's last year that was led by CenterPoint had the most, and then Atlas was right there with them. But the violations, the biggest violation is no locate requested. There's so many peeping, and they're just digging without calling a locate ticket. I know 811 has done a fantastic job advertising. I know multiple companies advertise. You listen to the radio, you're advertising. Call before you dig. I see billboards. But to see still that 39% of the violations are not requesting a locate, to me, that's certainly something that we need to look at too. And from an industry, decide, hey, what can be done about that? 24% is that the utility did not locate. I know that there's billions of dollars being pumped into the economy for infrastructure renewal, broadband. I know a lot of water systems are upgrading. I know we're doing a lot of work. It's taxing on the locate companies, but at the same time, we've got to find a way to work together to make this to get them located. But still, 24% because the utility did not locate. And then digging on the marks. Once the utility puts paint on the ground and flags, somebody's using mechanical equipment and digging on the marks and causing a damage. So those are the top 3 reasons that we see AVR submitted. There was some new legislation passed last year. There's a couple other violations that are now going to be enforceable. We have the impending emergency ticket, and there's also something for calling in a false emergency. So we will probably start seeing some of those increase going forward. But we didn't, it went into effect of July 1st last year, so it hasn't really been a full year to see some of those violations come through. Next, I want to talk about the Underground Damage Prevention Fund. So obviously the board, we have a few administrative costs. I mean, we have some legal fees and some things like that, but the majority of the funds and the penalties and the fines that we collect go to this Underground Damage Prevention Fund. And that is for public awareness, training, and education. For the past 3 years, we've done free line locator training in 5 or 6 different locations around the state. This is for anybody, big company, small company. We're bringing an expert in the field. People can bring in their own equipment. They go through best practices and just teach them how to locate their underground facilities. Last year, for the first time, we did damage investigation training. It kind of goes back to what we showed earlier, that we're getting so many that don't have any documentation. And then that doesn't even account for the ones that have just poor documentation. So this investigation training talks about taking pictures, taking it from different angles, time stamping, all the things that's required to prove their case. We certainly plan to do more of this in 25 as well, because great turnout, and you really feel like that's something that's going to make a difference going forward. Last thing I'm going to mention is the annual PHMSA review. I think you probably heard Ricky talk a little bit about this, but our damage enforcement is really PHMSA. Every year they come in and do a strict audit. I know PHMSA primarily is concerned with gas, natural gas pipelines, but our board, we're for all underground utilities. But PHMSA actually is the one that, since they're dealing with gas, they have a very influential as to what we do as a board. And when they make recommendations and come in and audit what we're doing, we take that very seriously. And I'll say that for every year, the Mississippi review, we have been adequate. Not every state can say that they are adequate. Matter of fact, there were several last year that were deemed inadequate. So kudos to the board. In 23, we were adequate with a but. They said we want to see some improvements going forward. What are you going to do? So with working with the 811 and Ricky Kynes group and the board, we submitted a very robust 3-year plan. These are the things that we want to do going forward. The biggest one is stakeholder engagement. I know you heard Sherelle talk about it. You had others talk about it. When you get the 2 sides together, whether it's the contractors, the line locators, the utilities, when you get everybody together, that's when you're going to make the most impact. You can get people in the same room and get them to understand the process. I can't sit here and say that you should file an AVR on every single time there's a damage. There are circumstances where you shouldn't. What you should do is you should work together, get both sides together, all 3 sides, try to work something out. But as a last resort, if things aren't working out, that's when you submit the AVR. The AVR is not a quick process. It's not going to change behaviors in a week. But we have substantial cases where it shows that AVRs are effective and completely changed one company's pattern of behavior. So very proud of that. Like I said, legislative changes to the law. Based on where we're enforcing the law, there are some wording issues, some things that we like to tweak. We work with some lobbyists and Mississippi 811 and the Mississippi Damage Prevention Committees to say, hey, these are some things that I think that would make the law more effective. So we do work with that. And then really understanding the data. We talked earlier, we saw the AVRs going down. Why are they going down? Better? Are we doing better? People working together? those are just some of the things that we really want to try to understand so we can be more effective. And with that, I'll take any questions if there are any.
Commissioner Carr?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm afraid to ask it.
I'm afraid to answer it.
The question is, so we have an individual that goes to buy a piece of equipment. Is there any literature or anything that is submitted to him at the time of the purchase that here's what's in, in our state, 811, and let him, just a simple little sheet to just give to him?
I know from a company standpoint, we provide brochures to all the rental companies. But from the rental company's perspective, if somebody comes in to rent your equipment, they say, well, you have to call OK and wait 3 days, they're not gonna rent that equipment. So I think it's kind of a,
I'm talking about someone that buys a piece of equipment.
buying equipment, I don't believe there's any.
Just
laws
one
or
little,
requirements or
one little simple sheet, a little card, just a reminder, maybe stick it in the cab.
I know we've put stickers, call 811 on rental equipment in the past, but I don't know there's any requirement to provide them with that. Certainly a great idea. And certainly could be done.
It's just a question.
Yeah.
Because I know some people, their fortune changed, and they go out and they think they're going to be a contractor overnight, and it just don't. There's a lot of responsibility there.
Right.
People don't realize what's in the ground. That's why I was surprised about that picture a while ago.
Well,
The
that
only
picture
thing that was
looked
in the
like
ground
it
was
was in the middle of the street, and that may be the reason everything else is
yeah.
You're right. Usually there's power company, 3 fibers in there, and water, sewer, and the whole 9 yards.
That was the only comment that I had. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Thanks for being here, and if we can help you in any way, let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, we're at the end of the meeting. Any closing statements, Commissioner Carr?
Is there any questions that y'all would like to ask us? Y'all would like to see us do different? Speak now, forever hold your peace. We're here to help. Y'all all have to speak at once now. Thank y'all.
Thank y'all so much. And again, the next summit we're working on, just so you know, is Economic Development / Contractor Summit, to try to figure out, again, what are our challenges to economic development in our state. I know that what's up front and center to us now are data centers. I think that's where Commissioner Stamps went to another announcement of a data center. So with the AWS and their $10 billion investment, that's going to have a higher demand for Mississippi in that realm. And I think it's speaks volumes about our state and how we've managed our power and how it's generated. So we need to be smart as we move forward. And so again, these summits are to educate us as commissioners, and because the decisions that are made by all of us, a lot of it won't bear good or bad fruit for 5 or 10 years. So it's incumbent that we learn as much as we can today to make sure we don't make foolish mistakes down the road. Again, we can look around the world and see some of that. Where Germany, got rid of their nuclear program, thought they were going to do all natural gas, and their natural gas got cut off. So there's a lot of different scenarios that we need to try to plan for, and this commission is all the above approach. So if it makes sense and keeps power reliable and costs down, we're listening and we're an advocate for it. And so we're fans of natural gas because it's clean, it's American, and it's affordable. So appreciate what y'all do. Thanks for participating, and we look forward to working with you in any way we can to make the lives of Mississippians better. So with that, we stand adjourned.